Hey everybody, thank you for staying with us on the Goodell Multiverse podcast. We are on our main event of the episode, the thing that we wait for every single week and we can't wait to talk about, the retrospective review of one of the MCU's, I won't say greatest movies just because we don't want to reveal our exact thing right now, but one of their best things they've ever done type thing. It's Avengers, guys. And this is the second Avengers movie.
Yeah, big one.
Age of Ultron. And we got a lot to say. And we are excited to get right into it. So I'll start really quick with the history behind the film. And then we're going to dive right into that, guys. Funny enough, on my notes, I didn't write down the release date. I don't even know what it is on top of my head. So anyways, Avengers Age of Ultron. It was released in 2014. I do know that, guys. The main cast includes Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, Jeremy Renner, Colby Smulders, Samuel L. Jackson, and introducing James Spader, Elizabeth Olsen, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Paul Bettany.
What a cast.
Yeah, what a cast. Holy smokes. That's an ensemble. All right. So, by the time Marvel Studios began filming Avengers Age of Ultron in 2014, the MCU had become the biggest franchise in Hollywood following the unprecedented successes of the first Avengers film, Iron Man 3, Captain America Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and so on and so forth. Expectations for the sequel were enormous because Marvel was no longer simply building a universe, it was now trying to expand and manage an interconnected global phenomenon. Director Joss Whedon returned after the success of the first Avengers, but behind the scenes, his relationship with Marvel had become increasingly strained. Whedon wanted Age of Ultron to be a little darker, more emotional, and more character-focused, while Marvel needed a film to also function as a setup for future MCU projects, including Captain America Civil War, Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, and eventually Endgame. Whedon later admitted the production was exhausting and creatively difficult due to studio pressure and the challenge of balancing so many characters and storylines. One of the biggest behind-the-scenes complications came when actress Scarlett Johansson became pregnant during production, forcing Marvel to adjust shooting schedules, using body doubles, alter costume designs, and employ visual effects to hide her pregnancy during Black Widow's action scenes. Despite the logistical challenges, Johansson remained heavily involved throughout the filming. Production took place across multiple countries this time, including England, South Korea, Italy, Bangladesh, and South Africa, making it one of Marvel's largest and most globally ambitious shoots at the time. The cast had evolved into full-fledged megastars by this point. Robert Downey Jr. was still the face of the MCU and one of the highest-paid actors in the world, while Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, and Scarlett Johansson had all become major franchise anchors after years in the MCU. Mark Ruffalo had become beloved as Bruce Banner following his breakout performance in the first Avengers film, and Age of Ultron expanded his relationship with Natasha Romanoff. New additions included Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson, joined as Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, introducing characters who would become increasingly important to the MCU's future. Meanwhile, James Spader was cast as Ultron, bringing a more sarcastic, theatrical, and emotionally unstable interpretation of the villain compared to the comics. In Marvel Comics, Ultron is traditionally portrayed as a cold, calculating AI created by Hank Pym, but the MCU version was reimagined as the creation of Tony Stark and Bruce Banner tied directly to Tony's fears after the Battle of New York. Whedon intentionally made Ultron more expressive, wounded, and human-like, reflecting Tony's own personality flaws and existential anxiety rather than depicting him as purely a robotic machine. Fun behind-the-scenes facts includes Whedon's original intention to include Captain Marvel during the film's ending sequence when the new Avengers lineup is revealed. Early plans involved Carol Danvers appearing briefly, but Marvel ultimately decided against it because the studio wanted to properly introduce the character in her own standalone film later on. The production also featured one of the largest practical sets Marvel has ever built to that point, with the Avengers Tower interiors, while the Hulkbuster versus Hulk fight in Johannesburg became one of the most technically ambitious CGI action sequences ever attempted at the time. Whedon also fought hard to keep quieter character moments, particularly the farmhouse scenes with Hawkeye's family, which many at Marvel reportedly questioned during production. When Avengers Age of Ultron was released in 2015, it received generally strong reviews, though slightly less enthusiastic than the first film, earning approximately 76% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and 82% from audiences. Critics praised the cast chemistry, action, and emotional moments, though some felt the film suffered from overcrowding and sequel setup obligations. Financially, however, it was another enormous success, grossing about $1.4 billion worldwide, ever against a production budget estimated around $365 million, make it one of the most expensive films ever made at the time. Although often viewed as a transitional MCU film in hindsight, Age of Ultron laid major groundwork for the franchise's future by introducing Vision, Wanda Maximoff, Wakanda references, the Infinity Stones mythology, and the ideological fractures that would eventually tear the Avengers apart in Civil War and beyond. So, with all that said, Ike, why don't you read the official synopsis?
Yes, so officially what this movie's about, guys, is when Tony Stark attempts to jumpstart a dormant peacekeeping program, things go awry. Earth's mightiest heroes, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Incredible Hulk, Black Widow, and Hawkeye, must reassemble to stop the villainous Ultron from enacting his terrible plans of global extinction.
Whew. All right. What are your initial thoughts before we get into this guy? Oh boy.
Initially, I'm not sure who to blame for this movie. So let's move on from that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, we got some things, guys.
All right. Well, let's just get into Act 1 then. Do you want me to read the first act?
Sure.
All right. Act 1 of Avengers Age of Ultron. The film opens with the Avengers, Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Thor, Bruce Banner, Natasha Romanoff, and Clint Barton raiding a Hydra base to recover Loki's scepter. Inside, Stark and Banner discover an advanced AI presence, which they secretly use to create a peacekeeping intelligence system meant to protect Earth. Tony's attempt to build global defense leads to the creation of Ultron, an AI that quickly evolves, rejects humanity, and decides the only way to save the world is to destroy it. All right. So, what are your thoughts? What worked for you?
So most of it works. Here's what I will say. I think in the beginning, it's shown that this movie costs a lot of money because it's throughout the film you see this happen. The CGI is a little, but like I said, I'm not going to be too stickler on whether it's good or not over the CGI because it really isn't that bad. But there's a few moments in this opening assault on this castle here that makes me kind of go, oh, oof, yeesh. You know, it's like this. Like there must be a lot of good CGI later, which there is. You know, because that opening stuff didn't look so well. But what worked for me though is I like seeing them work as an ensemble, as a group. And the biggest thing that worked for me is the introduction of Quicksilver and Wanda. I think right off the bat, I liked their abilities and like what they're doing. And I like that when he goes to Hawkeye, when he's out in the woods there, and he's like, I don't know, I can't remember what he says to him, but it's just a quiet moment, like he says it to Hawkeye, which becomes like a joke between them later on too, in a way. I like that a lot. I don't care for how Natasha can kind of calm down Hulk that fast, but I do like that it's her that can. And we'll talk more about their relationship in a few minutes. Because part of this scene is also the party scene, right? Because we're going right into when he...
Yeah, it's right when Ultron's made, basically, and he introduces, if I remember right, he introduces himself here, and then that's how Act 1 ends.
Yeah, because I love watching Tony and Bruce Banner doing things in the science.
Mm-hmm.
That whole montage of them working on it, I could watch like a series of them doing something.
Yeah.
Like their chemistry is awesome together, and I like that him and Bruce are friends. Like
Yeah.
they're buddies in mind wise. Like, and I do like that Tony's kind of nasty to Cap all the time because he really has a chip on his shoulder for Captain.
Mm-hmm.
But then a lot of that's got to do because he's jealous because his father talked more about him than his own son, which makes sense, right? Because he's part of the whole program, and everything at this party works.
Yes.
Some of my favorite stuff. So yeah, this is a great setup. I like the setup. I like seeing the AIs come alive.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing that it's Jarvis, and then the other one, there he is. I think Spader's got a great voice for Ultron.
Yes.
I got no problem with that. I like that he uses the suits. I like that he uses the suit, that Ultron uses the suits to kind of at first show himself. I do like in the very beginning that Iron Man uses the Iron Legion. Like it's cool. Like
Yeah.
I like that he designed these things to go to these places where this stuff is happening, and they're kind of there as they're like the Red Cross, right? Like they're trying to help out.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a ton of stuff I like. A lot of those little things I just said. I mean, it's working. This is working well in the beginning for sure.
Yeah.
How about you? Why don't you take over from there? See what do
right.
you think?
Well, I'm going to start off by saying, guys, I remember when I saw this in the theater, and I felt differently about it then than I do in my retrospective.
Mm.
And part of me wondered if that's because of enough time has gone by or enough of the franchise has gone by where I see things stemming off from this that now complement it better, things like that. I think that's one of the Marvel's greatest strengths is that if there is anything that is poorly received or viewed negatively, that they know a way or have a creative way in the future to make either that film more relevant or you feel better about the film. And during our retrospective so far, we've touched upon two other movies that kind of have done that to a degree, whether we still feel that way or not. Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World, where they're at times they're poorly received and poorly viewed, but if you didn't have them, you wouldn't be able to have what you had in the future.
Mm.
And I think this movie is similar to those aspects, but on a better level retrospectively, in my opinion. For me, at least, on a personal taste. So, with that said, what worked for me is basically everything in Act 1 for me. I
Yeah.
did not have complaints with this. I get your point about the CGI, that you could tell how they made this movie. This definitely was the more expensive of the movies that they've done thus far, and that makes sense. It was also a great way to test to see if this is going to pay off, and
Yeah.
it did brilliantly with over $1 billion they made of this movie. So there you go. It's kind of like the beginning of them saying we're gonna give it a bigger budget because we know we could get bigger revenue now. Whether or not that works later on, we'll talk about that when we get to some of the more recent stuff, guys. But for this movie, it worked really well. I love the whole opening, the fight scene, the
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
with Hydra. I loved how it was filmed too, where you go into it and then you're going from one person to another seamlessly, and they're all doing their quick shot moment that's like their signature moment here or there. I love the Cap shield is magnetized now because
Yeah,
that's
it's
a great
awesome.
way to bring it back and then bring him into the modern times a little bit more while still having that ideological morale that he has. So good. Um, and I gotta say, of all of Captain America's suits, this one is my favorite one. I think that we've seen thus far, if not probably into the future too so far.
Okay.
I like his
It's good. I do like it.
yeah, it definitely is a step up from what we saw in the first Avengers movie and from the tactical type suit we saw in Winter Soldier was not bad. It was good. But, Captain America, the red, white, and blue and all that stuff. This
Yeah.
was great. So
Yeah.
anyways, I liked that. I liked let's see. Thor is definitely an improvement in this film compared to the first Avengers film, in my opinion. I don't know if you'd feel the same way or not, but I feel like that they've stepped him up a little bit more as a character. I see where they kept him the same though, but I think he had a lot more of a humor aspect to him. Like more like the more he bonded with them, the more he mimicked some of their qualities and their humor. And you saw that with the Mjolnir scene. You saw that um with the drinking scene and Stan Lee's cameo and all that. And it actually gets to one of my favorite moments of the film with between him and Tony in the party scene. Really good stuff. So I think that Thor is definitely a notch up compared to the first Avengers film in this one.
Yeah, I'm opposite.
Mm.
I like him up until after the party stuff. It's not that I don't like him, but I feel like he got sidelined the most,
Mm.
especially in Act 3. So
I can see that. I can see where they kept him as just the God of Thunder
I
only
feel like he
type
did the
thing.
same thing to Thor in this that he did to him in the first Avengers movie, which is like not utilized correctly,
Mm.
you know? And it's a little sloppy how they handled his side quest too, but we'll get there in the next act. So
Yeah, we'll touch upon that too because I do have thoughts about that as well. But anyways, yeah. Uh w- there's a I love like you said, I like him Tony and Bruce working in the lab together.
no, it's so cool.
I loved how they popped up Jarvis and then they popped up what Ultron looks like or what would
Mm-hmm.
eventually become Ultron, and you see the size difference and you realize
Yeah,
the
there it
neurons
is, right?
firing, how they're talking about it. And yeah,
Every time we,
it's on our
yeah,
screen
yeah,
as we're talking.
yeah,
The dialogue is
it's
perfect.
great. Yeah,
And I love that they're so giddy about Ultron. They say Ultron in a nice way and then come to find out, oh no, what you do.
yeah.
type thing. Um, it's really well done. Um, I think one of the things that I'll address this early on because I know that people that are watching this are probably going to be like, but this isn't the same Ultron. Why would you give it some praise here? There, guys, this isn't supposed to be the same Ultron as it was in the comics. And that was one of the harder pills for me to swallow after I saw the movie because I thought Ultron was too comedic. But then you have to remember how this Ultron is created versus the comics is drastically different. And it alluded to that in our history behind the film, so I think it's okay for me to touch upon it right now. In the comics, Hank Pym creates Ultron. Now, Hank Pym also in the comics has a dark side where he did beat his wife from time to time, and you saw violent tendencies from him. And so those were exacerbated in the blueprints of Ultron that you saw in the comics, which meant when he was bad, he was bad. Ultron in the comics. He was vicious. Now you're contrasting that with the MCU that hasn't had the chance to introduce Hank Pym and that whole concept of a character like that making Ultron and you caring enough about it. So they made it into a Tony Stark thing. We have Tony Stark firmly established. He always wanted to create an AI, artificial intelligence. This actually is right up the MCU's Tony Stark's alley with what he wants to do and wants to ultimately see and become. So having the blueprints be set up of his flaws and his tendencies exacerbated within Ultron, where he uses humor as a defense mechanism and um over analyzes and things to the point where even his own master plan can have flaws and things like that. That is exactly what you would get from this. And he still was a bad guy in this movie. Ultron still he might not have been as vicious as you might have wanted him to be, but it fits the character for how they've made him in the MCU. And so I'm going to give a defense for Ultron in this movie, whether you thought he was not bad enough or more mediocre or whatnot. I think they made him the way they should have made him if they're making Tony be his quote
Ooh.
unquote dad. So you might disagree. I don't know, but I had to do a lot of self reflection when it came to that because after this movie did come out a long time ago, guys, and I saw it in the theaters, I felt disappointed by it because I was expecting a vicious Ultron. Mind you, guys, this is the same Ultron in the comics that had killed Thor at one point. So I was expecting some heavy stuff like that. And we didn't get that, but it makes sense why we didn't get that, in my opinion. So, anyways, uh, I'm trying to think of this. Oh, I'll just give one more thing of what I like about the movie. Or this scene, this act, I should say. The entire party scene.
Oh,
From the
so good.
beginning of all them getting together and they're all talking about their little things,
Yes.
Brody trying to make his joke,
Yep.
Sam giving Cap an update on what they're doing, their side project there, finding the Winter Soldier, and the banter back and forth, Stan Lee's cameo, and then even when, like, the after party, we're all just kicking their feet up, relaxing, trying to lift up Mjolnir. Gold. All gold. And Jarvis communicating with Ultron, scene was written beautifully.
Yep.
Of the dialogue between the two of them and Ultron realizing what he is, but what he feels like is the best way to accomplish it, because that's the problem with it. They differentiate here with AI, is that he's thinking more so independently thinking than the critical thinking that Jarvis is doing, recognizing I've been created by somebody, where this
Right.
one is trying to be its own sentient being, and then it just attacks Jarvis. It's so cool how they do it, and then him introducing himself the way he does to the Avengers, sparing the life of that medic, the doctor there, Helen Cho, because he knows, oh, I can use you type thing, and so he doesn't hurt her. It's all very strategic, very well done. So I didn't have much wrong with the first act at all. So, all right,
I do like the stuff at the party.
Yeah.
I freaking Cap and creepy Cap, because I'm all about. I love this whole thing with. I love this thing with Bruce and Natasha. I'm all for them, their little relationship that's getting started, and that scene when they're standing at the bar, and I wrote down what Cap comes over, and he just like standing there, and like she walks away, and he just says something like oh that's a nice moment or whatever, and it's like creepy Cap is just like standing there watching these two flirt. And it's like, geez, dude, don't be so weird. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm just picking on him, like, because I still love the scene, but he is just a weird, like, he's just like, what are you doing, man? And I like all the interactions with these. I could watch a 2-hour episode of them all at a party, just talking with each other and goofing around.
Yeah.
Because they just work, their chemistry is so good together. And the whole lifting the hammer thing, oh, I can't get over how awesome that is.
Good, yeah.
It's the best stuff. So with that said, I used to think exactly how you feel about Ultron in the beginning, and now I feel opposite. So how you feel about Ultron now, that's how I felt when I first saw the movie.
Oh, this is funny.
And now I feel like this is just Iron Man versus Iron Man. And not in a good way. So I'm with you. Okay. We don't know who Ink Pym is. I get it. I don't have a problem that they used Iron Man for the catalyst of making Ultron. And in fact, it's a great idea. After Ultron's introduction here, and we go to the next act, and on is where, for me, it's like they just failed to, like, I think that they failed at making that feel that way later. Like, okay, this is a cool idea. Here's the concept. But I think they kind of did a disservice to Ultron in this movie. He kind of comes off, if you were to do a supercut of just his scenes and him talking, 90% of it's gibberish and him trying to be as funny as Tony Stark. And I don't think it works. I don't believe him. I don't like him. And there's something about him that comes off. Man, how do I explain the word I'm about to say?
It's okay.
He comes off as like Transformers feeling.
Oh my God.
Like sometimes I'm watching him and he's talking and like I realize, oh, they put the voice in later, as in like when you're watching Transformers, okay, Whew, this is hard to explain, y'all. Stick with me, okay? I even told you, I text you this. I'm going to have a hard time explaining this. So, in Transformers, when you watch the Transformers movies, they looks fantastic. Ultron looks great. Don't get me wrong. I think he looks great. I think his plan is awesome. I think that's all cool. I don't have a problem with any of that. I even kind of like that he has a soft spot for Wanda and her brother. Because he's not. That shows that it isn't just a pure evil thing. That he's got a reason behind, even though they're going to die too, in the long run. But there's moments where he was very genuine with them about emotionally why they should feel the way they are. I guess. But what I don't like about it is there's a feel that this movie has with him where when you're watching Transformers, all right, and the special effects look great, but when they're moving around and doing action and talking and doing dialogue at the same time, there's times where you're like, oh, okay, this is like we're making this look a certain way, and then we're putting the dialogue in where it fits to move the story along.
Yeah.
And you can see that. It's like you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that here with him. Like there's moments where, like when he bursts through the one, or when he stands up and he walks, and just when he flies up behind Claw, there's a bunch of stuff that he does while he's talking that makes me go, if you just took the time to like give a more of a physical personality to him, I think it would be better. Because he just comes off as a very generic. It's funny you said that he wanted to get away from it being a generic machine, but he feels like a generic machine with a voice of Tony Stark, but not his own. Like I don't see him as a character in this. It bugs me that it's this way, and they treat him this way all the way through. Like there's no end fight with him. That's like there wasn't with Loki either, I guess. I guess that's the argument, right? Where Loki's fight is the Hulk just kind of bashes him around and it's a joke. When they fight him at the end, it's literally the Hulk jumps into his ship and you hear off screen, a stupid joke. It's like the jokes don't land. This movie also, it struggles with me. The jokes aren't landing. The ones that they want to land aren't landing. I don't see the parallel. Well, I see what the parallel is. I see what they're trying to say, but I don't like the whole "there's no strings on me" thing. I think that's just Disney bragging that they got this stuff. I don't care for that concept of it. This time it felt cringy. Like, okay. Ugh, that's cringe. Now, when he's saying it when you first introduce him and he just says it, that's okay. But once he sings it and then later on we hear the song again, it's like, okay, you're pushing it, guys. It's like, I don't know. I blame this on Joss Whedon, which is funny because when you're reading the history thing, it sounds like it's the studio that messed this up. That Josh was the one that wanted more of the stuff that I think this movie's lacking.
That's my thought when I was looking up the history and writing this down. This doesn't sound like Joss Whedon wanting the character-driven stuff.
No.
And we know, without a doubt, in Joss Whedon history, he is there for the funny. He's there for those extra moments.
Well, I mean, at least the movies, what movies has he done? Because the ones I can think of top of my head is Avengers 1, this one, and Justice League.
Yeah.
And Justice League sucks.
Yes. And that is because when you now see, the proof for that is in the two versions of Justice League we got. The one we were intended to get and the one that Joss Whedon recut and redid. And you can see the difference.
Like that whole, how it claims that he was the one that wanted it to not be as, he wanted to be more dark and serious. Yeah. It's like, why didn't you do it to Justice League, Joss? Well, it's not this one you needed to worry about. It's Justice League. Yeah, Ultron, I'm sorry, man. Like I think the mistake was made of making him a Tony Stark variant, because that's kind of what he comes off as. And he doesn't come off as a villain for an Avengers movie for that reason. What he's doing and like what they gotta stop even kind of falls flat later because of that feeling of it. It's like this movie's like 10 minutes too long of the battles at the end.
Hmm.
It's like there's something going on that makes me go, wait a minute. There's a wash, rinse, and repeat. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I'm going to stop it there with how much I got to say about it. But I am going to say that I'm not convinced. I think Ultron, his introduction's great. I'm not convinced yet on how I feel about him going forward, because frankly, it's just, I found that his stuff was,
There's
dare I say, aged out.
Hmm.
Where I'm looking at in a retrospective point of view, it's pretty weak.
Hmm.
For an Avengers movie. You know? I don't know. It's pretty weak. So let's get into the details of that as we go, though, because I'll talk a little more about stuff about that I'm not a fan of. That, and I gotta tell you, you know what? I'm just gonna say it right now, because I'm gonna have to do it, because like unfortunately, like I kind of did with Iron Man and 3 and a couple of the other ones, it's hard to talk about some of the stuff without bringing up the big thing in the end. That really is the problem. But I got to tell you, I think that this is Marvel's first failure. Age of Ultron.
That should be the hot take.
That is my hot take, and I'm gonna say it now because a lot of the stuff I want to talk about is really interesting to me, because there's things in this I like that shouldn't be in this movie. Or the movie around the things that are good should be better. From this beginning to now, this feels like they know what they're doing. Even to right now. Like, even where they're looking and discussing what this is, and Thor comes in and picks him up and gives him crap and says, you're meddling with things you shouldn't. You know what I mean? I get it. I think they knew what they were doing. All of a sudden, though, this movie becomes a big mess of where do we go from here? We're going to go here, we're going to go there. There's even kind of a weird time jump where he's been attacking places. They mentioned, so what have you heard about Ultron? Like, oh yeah, he's attacked this place. It's just an army of metal guys and blah, blah. It's like, wait a minute, I thought this just happened. Like, what do you mean? All of a sudden, it's okay, I get it. I know it's all happening quick too, but just felt like, I feel like this is where I see people with scissors. Okay, this gets cut here, this gets cut there, this gets cut. Okay, put this with that. Okay, this scene is good, so we're gonna make this scene work. Well, we got to do the scene with the Hulk because it's so cool and it makes sense when she does the mind thing, and here he is as a Hulk. Okay, yeah, that goes here, and it's like, but it's all just like nipped together to make this story feel like it's grand. When you go watch Avengers 1, and I'm just going to skip all the other movies and get like to Infinity War and Endgame, you feel like the beginning to the end of those feels very comprehensive of this to that to this to that to this. When this movie just kind of is like, we have a great beginning, and then we're just going to go off the rails and just do a bunch of wild things with this character and have fun with it and see if it fits. And I'm not saying that none of it works together. It just makes me feel like there's a lot of people stirring the pot for this movie. And I think that whatever was going on behind the scenes is showing in the camera with what they want, or in the editing room. It's at least coming off that there were people that were in the creatives of this movie that wanted it to be two different movies. I believe that for sure. And we're getting a mix of both of them. And unfortunately, it's their biggest failure, because this is the perfect example of a filler movie that you'll ever get, where it is the catalyst to things that going forward in the future we want to see, like, Tony seeing his vision, literally almost right down to Cap's shield in half, is like identical to what, but that's afterwards, right? I actually had a thought that some of the stuff that they show us in this movie, they didn't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe them for 1 second that they said some of the faults of this movie was because they built up too much for the future movies to happen. I don't think that's true. I think they took big swings and they didn't work, and they hired people to fix it. And the same people they hired to fix it are the same people that are hired to fix what they did now, which is what they're doing to Doomsday.
Oh.
Some of the stuff that we see look how he's moving. And it's just when he's talking and moving, it just feels like a transformer. And I'm like, oh, something's wrong here. Spader, when you really look at his lines and realize what he's talking about, he's just kind of being a sarcastic prick the whole time. And the argument is that's that side of Tony, right? I get it. But when do we see a villain out of this, though? And not just a sarcastic big robot that wants to kill everybody? Because even then, he's hard to believe. The jokes are very not well landed on him when he joked. I actually think the mistake was trying to make him funny. Maybe that's my problem with him. Now that we're talking about it and I'm saying this out loud, I think Ultron would have served better, angrier. Maybe not as mean, because I get that he's not the Hank Pym, but I would have liked a more insecure, angrier Ultron. Because if what they're doing is they're telling you that we're going to make him like Tony Stark, so his biggest attribute is his humor, when technically when you and I look at Tony Stark and we are pulling Tony Stark apart from the first Iron Man to Iron Man 3, it's that vulnerable part of him that he's always fighting against that is not talked about a lot. That childlike part of him that is scared and worried and why he's doing this in the first place should have been more highlighted in Ultron and not the humor. Because the Tony Stark that we deal with on a daily basis is the oversaturated in humor. Because sometimes his jokes don't even land because he's so inappropriate about it, because that's his defense mechanism. So what are we going to do? We're going to make Ultron be of an offshoot of Tony Stark by what? Making him the exact same way. And to me, it would have been better if the contrast was there. Having Ultron, and they set that up. They have the setup for it, but they never follow through because they double down on the humor and the lightness of it. Banner says, look at this thing after he sees Jarvis all destroyed. What's Banner even say? I almost think the exact words he says is he sees it was fear and insecurity. And that's why he did what he did. And like, that's Tony. Yeah. But the only part that he gets from him is this sarcastic sense of humor, because that's all he is the whole time. Every time Ultron speaks, it's a quip, it's a whip, it's a quip. And okay, sure, that's Tony. But what's the alternate side of Tony then? They're not really showing us the alternate side of Tony. Tony's showing us the alternate side of Tony. So it's like, to me, I just feel like it's so underwhelming. It's like, be more thoughtful and be more, I dare I say, unpredictable, because you just sound like the guy you're made from. You don't act like the guy you're made from. Does that make sense? I'm standing next to that, because I do think when I'm watching this movie, I'm like, holy cow, man, they messed up big time in this. Like, this is like, you look at these visions and everything they got going on, they're all cool and all that, but retrospectively, it sets things up perfectly, right? But that's only because someone come in and saw this and said, all right, well, we got to make this tie into that movie, and they put a bunch of stuff in this that we need to follow through with, because they even fall short with Cap in this movie. This idea of him not knowing where he belongs and things almost sets home he's so afraid of not having a home that he can't even walk into Clint's house. I like those little tidbits of it. He says a few different times this is the only time we see Cap where he truly feels out of place, not just out of time, but out of place because he feels like he has no home because he can't have it like everybody else is kind of the theme of this, right? When Tony says, isn't the whole point so we can all go home? And he rips the thing because Cap's like, what are you talking about? You guys all got life. I dive into my work, which is what he does at the end of this movie. The end of this movie, he's there, I'm going to go teach the new Avengers, which never really still amounts to much, really. You know what I mean? So it's like, they just feel like you sidelined everybody. There's a version of this film that we didn't get. And that's kind of, I don't want to go on too long. I want to talk about specific stuff because there's a lot of good things in this second act that we need to talk about. But I definitely want you to stew on that because as I go forward, I'm going to complain about certain stuff. And that's kind of where I'm coming from with it is, yeah, I personally think I'm very surprised how I feel about this, that it really comes off as like, hey, we can just do what we did the first time and get away with this. And that it didn't happen that way. And I think Ultron ultimately was the brunt of that failure. And you lost a great opportunity in a real awesome character that you could have had in him. And you sacrificed it for too much stuff going on. And then later on fixed it by saying, but you see, it happened for a reason. It's like, yeah, but we don't know this. How many years before we get any of those reasons? And I'm very surprised at how I feel about it for that reason, to be honest with you. So let me read Act 2 and let's go from there. Let's do our standout moment. You got standout moments. Mine is I like when he interrupts the party. Mm-hmm. Our introduction to Ultron, I'm like, I'm in. This is actually, I was excited when I was watching the movie again this week. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to like this because I knew I liked it before. And I like he comes waddling in and he has his thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, he's menacing. There's a darkness and deepness to him and a sorrowness that's the only time we ever get it. But I like that version of him, that part of him, because he felt scary. He felt like, there's something going on here that, you're scary. Their reaction to hearing him and what he's saying, even when Cap is like, you killed somebody? Like, because he's just like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, and it's, the setup is there, man. It's there. And it's just why the football got dropped, I'm not sure. But this Ultron beginning his introduction is my standout moment, which is funny to say after I just got done shit all over the character, but it's the truth. It's how I feel about that part. So I love his introduction.
Yeah, no, I wrote for my standout moment the manifestation of Ultron.
Sweet.
I loved his conversation with Vision and what he does to him. And then, technically that includes him confronting the Avengers for the first time, how he takes the old body and all that stuff.
Do you see the difference though in that when he's talking to Vision and when he first shows up, you see that you never get that side of him again?
That's probably his most vicious in the whole movie.
Or vulnerable. Or most insecure feeling, right?
Yeah.
I just wish they didn't think that we were so stupid that if he wasn't funny, we wouldn't keep thinking he's made from Tony Stark. It's like when you double up Tony Stark and it's not coming out of Robert's mouth, it almost doesn't work.
I see that.
You know what I mean? It's like Robert's the only one that can do that.
He has that charisma
And when you take away that charisma that he naturally has and you put it in a machine that you can't relate with emotionally at all, it just, I don't know, man. It feels every time it's a joke, every time. And it's just flat. And it's like, and the jokes aren't even that good. He doesn't remember the word children. I mean, I don't know. I want to laugh at some of it, but I can't think of one funny thing he says.
That is a cringy line.
Yeah.
People make little people, children. Be like, that's a little cringy.
Or when he cuts his arm off and, sorry. It's like, I don't know. I just don't. Doesn't it feel Transformer-ish? We're like, don't step on the grass. It just I'm like, my God, I'm watching Transformers right now. Like these people, these
I
are
didn't
characters with
think of
no
that.
these are characters with no emotional grasp. They're just saying shit, and that's kind of Ultron this whole time. I don't know, but I'm sorry. I don't want to poop on your parade. I know you like him this time around, and I'm like, I can't help but feel the opposite. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do give this beginning part though, because, let's stick with it. I just went on 15, 20 minutes of just poorly explaining my point.
No.
But, I hope you all stuck with me and Sammy don't want to stab me yet.
No.
But like,
About.
I know he's ingesting it because I think you want me to not feel this way about it. And I don't want to feel this way. Let me make this clear. I'm sad that I feel this way about it because like I said, I was the opposite when I'm like, I thought that was good.
What's surprising me more, I think, of this whole thing is if you had asked us this weeks ago, yeah, we would have had the exact opposite reaction. And I don't know if it's...
Is it the retrospectives that are doing us a disservice?
Is it what we're drinking?
I mean, it's cola.
Mine was grape juice.
It's Indian food.
We're eating a lot more of that. No, it's weird because I felt the same way you felt when this movie came out. But then in my retrospective, I'm a little softer to it.
It's weird.
And
we're probably still going to end up pretty close to the same number. I
think not.
Probably not.
Because
okay, well,
let's wait, because my hot take may change as we continue going. But I had a hot take on this.
I give this section though a 9 out of 10.
Okay, well that's why I gave this a 9 out of 10.
Because like I said, if we're just going by the beginning,
by the act,
this first act is like, okay, I'm in. Because I'm telling you, there's other things in this movie I absolutely love. Like, so you might be surprised. My score might be higher than you think, actually. I don't know. It's still, my score is going up and down as we talk. Isn't that funny? I know I never am ready to give you the final score until we're done talking, because I don't know what we're going to say. It's like,
so guys, when we do our notes, we have a review form. I print out all of my notes. I type it all on the computer, and he gets my notes ahead of time in starting our retrospect. So he has every right to look through and say, oh, Sammy, what did you write? And all that stuff. But sometimes as we're doing our retrospect, my score could go up, it could go down. And it all depends on, okay, you make a point there, or, oh, no, I'm doubling down on something,
In full disclosure, I purposely don't read his because I don't want it ever to come off as me trying to be opposite. And secondly, I like the surprise. So I actually didn't even write down my notes today on this for that reason. I'm looking at my notes, folks, off my phone, because I usually transfer my notes over, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want to even see what he's got to say by accident, because this one was a big one and we knew it was going to be some stuff going on. So we both went 9 out of 10 out of this one.
Yes, that's
fair.
That is a definite.
That's a great beginning of this movie.
Yes. Oh boy. Okay.
So Act 2. Okay. Ultron escapes, steals vibranium resources, and begins forming a physical body while targeting the Avengers. He recruits Pietro Maximoff, Quicksilver, and Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch. Ultron reveals himself fully and attacks the Avengers, forcing the team into retreat and self-doubt. Wanda's visions trigger deep fears in each Avenger, especially Bruce Banner, who fears becoming the Hulk uncontrollably. The Avengers fracture emotionally and physically, leading to internal conflict. Steve and Tony clash over responsibility and control, while Thor leaves to investigate the Infinity Stones after a vision. Meanwhile, Ultron attacks Helen Chow in Seoul and, using the Mind Stone, forces her to create a synthetic body for Ultron to transfer into. The Avengers stop the process and send the unfinished body to Tony back at the Avengers Tower. Black Widow is kidnapped by Ultron.
Okay. They packed a lot into this act.
There's a lot. Yes, there is.
Okay.
So what worked for you? Why don't you talk about what you like?
Okay. All right.
We'll go from there.
So I love the introduction of Wakanda to the MCU, the way they did it in this movie. I love the how Bruce misinterprets or mispronounces it, and then once he says it, I remember that moment in the theater, and then I got it again when I was watching this, be like, "Oh, I know that place." But
Mhm.
we don't really know that place 'cause, the MCU, I think, did it far better than I thought they were gonna. But anyways, I liked those sudden nods of vibranium is now a big deal. Um they're off the coast of Wakanda. Ulysses Claw, who's a big Black Panther villain. There's a lot of setup for the future of showing Black Panther without showing Black Panther. And I kind of like that in the MCU where you get hints of it. Then finally, when you see it, you'd be like, oh, okay, we've been waiting for this type thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that I like that those parts of it. Um, no, no, I'm gonna say that's what didn't work for me, but um I think how do I say this? I wanna keep going on what I liked about it. I knew that they were gonna do a scene of, Hulk versus the Hulkbuster outfit because I feel like they can't go the entirety of the MCU and not have Tony fight Hulk. I feel like that was, like, inevitable. So I kinda like how they did it in this manner, and it did play on later on for, like, Civil War and things like that, but, um I did enjoy that fight scene between the 2 of them. I thought that was cool, utilizing Veronica from out in space and all that stuff. Um, from that point going over to South Korea, I thought that was cool of utilizing the Mind Stone again with, making Helen help Ultron create the body and seeing all that, and then having Wanda being able to finally read Ultron's brain because she couldn't read a robot's brain, but she could read a synthezoid's brain. That's it's very weird because it's interesting how they've made Vision. I like the creative process of making Vision this way, but it's also a little iffy later on.
Mhm.
But I don't know if that's touching upon why I didn't like Territory. There are parts of this I liked, there are parts of this I didn't like. Um, but trying to think on what else I enjoyed this. I enjoyed a majority of the scenes. It was just parts of the story beats that I wasn't so sure of. But again, I'm getting into what I didn't like about it. Do you
You
want?
can go right ahead and talk about it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no, go ahead because I got a bunch to say, and I agree with a lot of the stuff you like already, so I'm just gonna kinda let that speak for itself.
There are parts with I didn't write this purposely down on here because I was having a hard time figuring out how to articulate what I didn't like about Act 2, but there are things in Act 2 that I wasn't too keen on is the best way to say it. So, I kind of found the Pietro and Wanda until the end a little irrelevant to a degree. For majority of this movie, to be honest. Even towards the end, I get they're using Wanda as part of the emotional beats, Pietro's the emotional beats. I get that stuff, but the funny thing I have to say about this is I did not like them the first time I watched this when this movie came out. And now knowing what I know and watching it as a retrospect, some of those feelings are still there, but they're there for different reasons now.
Mm,
I didn't like them when I first watched this movie a long time ago when this first came out because they are mutants to me and they didn't have the courage to say mutants because of a film rights issue, all that stuff. That's what I didn't like about them. If I was going to watch an Avengers movie, I wanted to watch just Avengers, not introduce mutants, but yet you can't call them mutants. Now, I'm kind of over that part because I get what they had to do, but now I don't like them because they are kind of irrelevant to the story except for tools to use on where you could have utilized that for Ultron being more menacing. You could have invested more of that villainy stuff into Ultron than you could have for these two other side characters. And though Wanda would eventually become my favorite female character of the MCU, that's later on.
mm.
perfectly cast and everything, so I'm not complaining about that, and her acting, phenomenal for it, and a couple parts of her in this movie I do like. I do not like Pietro in this movie. Um, I honestly think he has the worst dialogue in this movie, from my personal taste.
It's awful. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
with you. Yep.
good. Okay, there's some common ground for that, because part of me was wondering, am I alone in this? Because I thought you were gonna say Ultron probably had the worst, but he just had overly comedic for your taste and
Well,
sarcasm.
yeah, he just was vacant.
Yes, but and to me, I'm a little softer on that, because now I'm looking at it through the lens of this is like a Tony, like you said, kind of like a Tony variant, a copy of Tony in a robot form. So I'm a little softer on it now than I was when I first watched this. But Pietro actually annoyed me more in the retrospective than he did the first time watching it. So that's what didn't work for me. I'm sorry, Aaron Taylor
Well, it's not
Johnson.
his fault.
No, it's not your fault. It's just the way you're written, but it kind of makes me happy that you didn't continue on after this movie. Just because who knows how they would have written you later on. If you got the same treatment all the time, it would have been a downer for future stuff. Where Wanda definitely had the more emotional arc of the two of them, in my opinion. But anyways, let's see. Trying to think of some of the other stuff that I didn't like, or that didn't work for me here or there. Um, but I'll let you go and talk into it, because I'll piggyback
Yeah.
on any of the things that you say that I agree with. I just can't think of it at the top of my head.
So I like scenes of this act. You know, I'm gonna jump right into where this starts to fall apart.
'Kay.
And it is, yes, Ultron to me feels very one-sided, like one note. We're just going to take the attribute of Tony Stark that we know the audience knows and likes and double down on it, and it's not working for me anymore. It may have that first time we saw it, but as I've watched this movie over and over again, I've realized it is not sinking in. And then Wanda and Pietro, why the hell are they even in this movie? Like, I know we need Wanda later, but I don't want them to use the excuse of, but look, if this didn't happen in this movie, we wouldn't get this later. It's like, no, you only got this later because you did this in this movie. There's a difference there, folks. There's a big difference. I know it sounds like the same thing, but my argument to that, why it's not the same thing, is because you're reacting to something that you wish you did differently and you're making it better later. If Civil War and the other ones didn't use the stuff in this movie would be dog shit.
Well,
Unfortunately.
even to that point, if you took Wanda and Pietro out of this movie and just inserted them into a future movie,
You'd be fine.
you can't use that excuse of, you need this movie to know. You
No,
didn't.
I know. You're right.
There's no
That's
part
right.
of Wanda's history where this actually becomes relevant enough where
Right.
you needed this particular movie.
Out of the
for her.
two of them, Wanda's the only thing that actually does anything.
Mhm.
What she does with their heads and messing with them is kind of cool. I like this aspect of this film. I like them seeing their Thor going off and doing his thing. There's 20 minutes of this movie that we're never going to see that is got something going on with Thor in that. And I feel like that's a side quest that was just, yeah, blah, 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 and that was it. And I'm like, well, this sucks. Like, what's going on? And it doesn't suck because it's acted bad. It doesn't suck because I think that it's a bad idea, but it's just another little element of this film that makes me go, so what? He went and saw this guy? Like, we need to go find this water hole. And the next scene we see is there's the water hole. And then he goes into his vision, and it's kind of the same vision that we saw. You could have just had him have this vision when he had the vision in the first place. I don't know why they went through the trouble of doing this with Thor, other than they don't know what to do with Thor in these movies sometimes. I say sometimes because people figured it out, but this guy can't figure it out because he did the same thing to Thor in this that he did to Thor in the other one, which is just give him something to do that makes somewhat sense, that's Thor-like and mythological-like, and we'll be fine because we'll just march forward. And that's all they did to Thor in this movie. Again, it's the Russos that know what to do with Thor, not these guys. Anyways, Wanda, yeah, and Pietro, he even says, Pietro, you and I can hurt them, but you can tear them apart. When does Pietro ever hurt these guys? You know, I mean, the one thing I did like they did with Thor and Pietro, the two characters I'm complaining about the most, is I love that he grabbed the hammer and just like any fashion, the hammer just takes him. I'm like, see, I like they're consistent with the hammer. Thank you at least for that. This Hulkbuster scene in all the Hulk fight is the best scene of the freaking movie. I love it. I like it so much that I argue it should have been in Civil War. But that's just me. I think Branner should have been pulled by Steve at the airport, and part of the airport scene should have been them. They should have went into this fight in a different country, in a different city, but this kind of fight. That should have been in Civil War. People are like, oh, the Hulk couldn't be in Civil War because who's going to fight him? Iron Man's going to fight him like that. This shouldn't have been in this movie. Although I like the idea that, okay, I'm contradicting myself. I like that the Hulk changed and we got Crazy Hulk, and that's what the mind thing did to him. I'm not saying that's wrong, and it's great. But that's such a good scene in this movie. I wish was in a better movie. Because that to me is like, that's like, oh man, when I'm watching that scene, I could watch that scene over and over again. The rewatchability of that 15 minutes of that fight is incredible. Like, it is some of the best stuff, some of the best action, some of the best Iron Man moments, some of the best Hulk stuff, just right down to where he holds him down and it's like punching him. He's like, sleep, 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 sleep. I mean, it's like, this. Now we're cooking. And I thought maybe I'm going to get back in love with this movie again. And, and it goes right down. Then the better part about this movie is when we do get to Clint's house.
I completely forgot about Clint's house. I love all the things in Clint's house.
Which I have to say,
everything in it.
If one good thing comes out of this podcast tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is that I can get Sammy now. That I can win an argument that we had 2 movies ago. That there is no reason why that they did not get a hold of Clint to come help during the Winter Soldier.
This is the exact reason why.
Oh, no. I'm going to quote exactly what Clint says, okay? He says, Nick Fury set this safe house up for us. Not even S.H.I.E.L.D. knows about it. Okay? Only Nat and Nick. Which is why when she sits at the table, she's hugging his kids. So you're telling me your biggest argument for why they didn't get a hold of him is because they're watching him in his house. Oh, no. S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't even know about this house.
Well, I wouldn't say they weren't watching him in this house. You didn't want to put a target on his family's back from
They
him
don't even know it's there. The whole world's looking for them right now. And where do they go? Clint's house.
Okay.
See?
Okay.
I was right, ladies and gentlemen. I had to dig that. When he said that, I'm like, oh my God. Sammy said that maybe that they were watching this out. I know you weren't dying on that hill, but but you did bring it up. You did say, yeah, but this and that. But no, they're making you feel like this is the safest place these people could ever be. It happens to be where Clint's family is, which means Clint could have left. He could have went. And she does get a hold of him by tapping on the side of a pipe, by the way, in this movie. Morse code. So, yes, they didn't need to use Sam's phone to call him and put them all in jeopardy. She could have went outside, tapped on the ground. He'd have been like, I got it.
Tap on the ground.
This movie worked completely against you when it comes down to the argument of why they couldn't use Clint. It completely was like, it's like they knew.
Oh my God.
So I'm sorry, Sammy, but I have to tell you, I'm officially going to take the W on that argument because this movie completely contradicts everything you said. Couldn't get a hold of him. She tapped the side of a pipe in a country like thousands of miles away.
But he was actively looking for her. He wasn't looking for her then.
You got to admit, though. If that, all he said, don't you guys got some spy shit you guys can go do? He's like, yeah, okay. He's listening for Morse code across the world. Come on. All right, I'm with you.
Okay.
So let's move on past that.
Anyway,
let's stay in this movie.
Yes, I do agree that everything inside the house, though, was really cool.
I love it all. Like,
yeah.
It's... They just should have called Clint, man. He could have been there. You realize how many of those people on the helicarrier they could have got rid of if he was just up there sniping. Anyways, all right, anyway. I'm still on that guy. Oh, no. What was I going to say? I just wrote it down while we were talking. Yeah, no, I mean, Quicksilver did nothing in this but die. And, like, I don't understand.
Yeah,
He doesn't even get, like, a great moment. Like, every bit of dialogue he's got is, like, some little smirky, you know? And I'm like, okay. It's like
yeah.
it's now we got two villains that are just like, you know, and it's like, okay. And the one that's supposed to be the ultimate villain is, you know, the only one that really makes sense was Wanda, and she was even kind of like, you know, I don't know, guys. I'm just saying, like, some of it just bugged me. I know I'm doing all these faces and all that stuff, but I'm trying to have fun with it. This is, to me, where this movie starts to fall apart. I don't think they know what they want this to be. They got these really cool ideas. There's really good scenes, great dialogue between Nat and Banner about them being monsters, which will come up later in our questionnaire. Great dialogue between Nick Fury and I really like the scene of Nick and Tony in the barn. That's a great scene because Tony or Nick calls him right out. Says, "Because oh, you weren't afraid that you know that it was because of you. You're afraid because you also didn't die." And it's like, oh, that's deep. I like that, you know. But see, we get that side of Tony now, but we don't ever see it in Ultron, you know. But we still get the silliness out of both of them, that's where it gets convoluted. And I like the argument that him and Steve have out there when they're chopping wood. And I laughed out loud when he says, "Don't take from my pile," to Steve.
Yeah.
It's just a small pile, but he's proud of what he does. Like, I just love that Tony's just that petty, you know? And I enjoy that. I like Clint's little family here. You know, his wife, and I like that she's some sort of agent, you know, and they're all just astonished about what the heck. And I do like that all of a sudden you realize, oh, we're in this on Clint's end of it more. I think the one thing this movie does do right is it definitely gave a lot more time to Hawkeye that he really needed. We really needed this because he's not getting his own movie. He's not showing up in a bunch of other people's movies. They're too afraid to call him when they actually could use him. And you know, here he is though. He's actually getting his moment to shine. You know what I'm saying? Like to have these awesome moments. And I appreciate that a lot.
That's where I put my best character moment for Act 2 is everything to do with Hawkeye.
Yeah. Oh, you did, didn't you?
Right. That's what I wrote down. And I do agree exactly with 100% what you just said there.
Yeah, I agree with you on this too.
They gave him, you got to see a slice of him that we never saw before. One, because in the first movie, he was basically mind controlled for all of it except for the very end, last act, last battle. So I was happy that they didn't mind control him this time. And I love that moment where he's like, I've done this before. I'm not doing it again.
When he puts that on her head.
Yes.
Like, oh, God.
That was violent.
Yeah.
At the same time, he's like, never again. And so I like that. And then you got to see what his nature is like, taking care of all of them in the Quinjet that he was and he knows a safe place to go. And then you get to see his slice of life that he has, his heaven that they all wished they had, which is a cool thing that they contrasted that in this movie. Is he has a wife and kids and another one on the way and a stable life that's outside of the noise, outside of the missions, outside of everything else, where he's repairing a farmhouse and all this stuff. And Steve never could have that. Tony never feels he could ever have that. And so Steve never feels he could have that either. And Thor can't live a normal life at being God type thing. And Bruce and Natasha are the two of the most apparent there that feel, because of their past and circumstances surrounding who they are, they never could have that in any shape or form. Even if they did romantically link up, they couldn't have kids. So
yeah, really, Hawkeye's the only one that's got something to fight for.
He's got something at home that Tony later gets, which helps Tony in Endgame. But Tony doesn't have that yet. He's not married to Pepper. He doesn't have Morgan on the way. Steve doesn't have any of this, which is why he is the guy usually left to just live on the Avengers campus because there's nothing else for him to do.
It's the brilliance of the Russos, though. You realize the scene they open up with in Endgame is what? It's seeing Hawkeye's family all go away.
Yeah.
And it's like, man.
Yeah.
Boy, they saved their ass.
Them down. Yeah.
You know, they saved their ass from this kind of stuff. Because another one of these, we'd have been not happy. You know what I mean? But anyways.
Yeah. No, I do. I actually do agree that
I don't care what they say on the internet. I think they say it to save face. But I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You
But
say, what about this movie?
yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I don't believe them when they say they had Endgame, Infinity War, and Civil War planned out at this point.
Oh no,
Nope.
no, I agree. I don't, because to do Civil War was their biggest swing, and then when they finally did it, that's when they said we have an idea for the rest, and then you could tell the subsequent movies after that reflected what they
Yeah.
were planning.
The only part of this they knew was going to be coming later was the Infinity Stone stuff, which they didn't really even quite explain in this movie. They just gave a little more taste of it. You know what I mean? Like, which was they didn't know what to do with Thor. So, what do you give this act?
Um, well, and I will say too that the pacing for me did hold up, in my opinion, because if I didn't get bored in any of this, even when Thor went on his side mission, which I agree felt like it was kind of shoehorned in.
Yeah, it wasn't boring though.
No, it wasn't boring, and I get the reason for them to do it because honestly, if they had cut that scene out of the movie and then they went to right where they were making a resolution with Vision being alive type thing, it would have made us think what the heck happened that made Thor say this. So they needed that scene. So I can't say if it looked shoehorned in only because you could film it without anyone else around. Like you could have filmed this at any time. But I felt narratively for the film, it wasn't shoehorned in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's why I think there's parts of this that's just missing. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's meant to be here. It's just some of it was missing. Like it's just they just went beat by beat by beat.
but I agree with your part that when it comes to the story as a whole, other than the action scenes, Joss Whedon has a hard time figuring out what to do with Thor himself,
Yeah.
which is very scary if you can't deal with one mythological god in a team of superheroes. How did you think you could do the Justice League when that came about, when they're all gods?
Well, it shows that they can't.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm not saying they got lucky with the first Avengers, but what the first Avengers movie had going for it was the first of its kind. So no matter what you did with him, as long as you did just enough, we were going to be okay with it.
And
That's what we got was just enough.
and it was very comic booky. But
Yeah.
after that, when you're trying to step into the real world a little bit more, you can't do very comic booky. That's what they did with the Justice League. They made it very comic booky when that's not the tone they already had set up for
Right.
the whole franchise. So, anyways, what I would say for score wise, we're going into now. Gosh, I let me just double check one thing. I want to make sure I'm staying consistent with myself. I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10.
Ugh.
Maybe that might be a little too generous, depending on it. Because when I was first initially doing this, I was going off a gut feeling, writing things down. But some of these I left blank on the form because I didn't know how to say it, and I didn't want to say it wrong on here, then it get misinterpreted. So, I will make my final score for Act Two 7 out of 10.
I give it a 6.
Okay.
So we are close there.
Yeah, we're close there, but and
We have similar feelings, at least about Wanda
Yes.
and Pedro for sure.
Yes, I hated that I had that feeling because part of me
Yeah.
thought, okay, I get to see their origin in this again, and part of me is like, I I didn't need to see. There is no origin to a degree. Like I didn't. That's one of the frustrating parts about these two characters as a whole. To be honest, is that their origin is mutants. For goodness sake,
No, I couldn't agree
their
with
daddy is Magneto, and you can't even say it in the movie. But yet,
really worked against them in this.
why did they feel the need to put them in the movie? And I'm only complaining about it for this movie because Wanda in Civil War, fantastic. Wanda in Infinity War, fantastic. Endgame, oh, one of my favorite scenes when she came back.
She's even good in this.
She's an actress, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And yeah, she's good in this, but her appearance is almost irrelevant.
Yeah.
And that's such a disservice to the character as a whole. But she already was introduced in the post-credits scene of one of the greatest movies of the MCU's, Winter Soldier. Did we need to get this too? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they could have done something different. I feel bad about thinking that way and feeling that way about this movie. But that they're the only part of this movie for me personally. I can handle the Ultron part because I've learned to come and accept of how his origin is different. And yes, it is watered down compared to what we could have gotten, probably should have got, honestly, for an Avengers level threat. But the threat level was still there with what Ultron ultimately was doing when we get to this next act. So I'm forgiving him for a couple of things there, and the origin is different, so I have to let go of the comic book part of me for that part. But it's those two that it doesn't make sense to me. They team up with a robot, and the robot would somehow have feelings for them. I don't get that.
Yeah, they quickly just kind of go along with whatever.
Yes,
I don't believe any of the turns they take.
The turn, and I think this is in this act. So I'm going to say it before we move on to Act 3. When it got to her being able to read Vision's mind, it was still Ultron's mind technically going into the Vision body, and now she has a change of heart because they're going to kill everything. What were you doing this whole time? You were literally helping him. Sorry, my throat's now getting a little crazy. You were literally helping him to do this global extinction without knowing it was global extinction. What you did you huh? You're part of this terrorist cell from Hydra. That's how they introduced you in this movie as you're radicals to brainwash into a terrorist organization. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But now you have a change of heart. I don't get it. You didn't have a change of heart in the beginning of the movie when you're working on behalf of Hydra to fight them in that field.
Yeah, there's stakes for them, or their curves and arcs. There just wasn't. It's like I said, it kind of fell apart, and it feels like there's a couple movies here, and they're trying to mesh something together, right? Like
It's them that I there was no point really of them being in this movie. We did not get enough of Quicksilver to care too much about his death at the end.
I didn't care at all.
Yes, and I know that they wanted that to be a gut punch emotional beat because you could tell how they played it off. And yeah, the only part of it that I can't talk, guys. Sympathize with is Wanda losing her brother. I could see that where that would be an emotional beat for her. But again, we haven't had these characters enough for us as the audience to get connected to feel the same way this movie's trying to convey for it. And
That's funny. I felt
honestly,
worse for Hawkeye in that situation. Believe it or not,
Quicksilver
he was the
was
emotional
bad
part
in this movie.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think, oh, we lost a great character.
I didn't even feel that bad for Wanda. I felt bad for Hawkeye. Because he kind of had like a respect for him and at a moment there, and then at this season. So when Hawkeye lays down on a bench, all hurt, and he's laying next to his guy's dead body, it was almost like, oh man, it's like a soldier thing that soldiers do.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like there's more emotional beats there than there was anything else.
Yeah. So what were we about to talk about? Are we on Act 3 now?
We are. Yeah.
Okay, guys. So I'll read Act 3 then. Ultron's plan culminates in lifting the city of Sokovia into the air using vibranium technology, intending to drop it and cause global extinction-level impact. The Avengers reunite, and with the help of Wanda, Pietro, and Vision, a new synthezoid created from Stark's AI, Banner's intellect, Thor's lightning, and the Mind Stone, they battle Ultron's final vibranium form. Pietro sacrifices himself to save Clint and a child. Wanda destroys Ultron's primary body, and Vision eliminates the final Ultron drone. The Avengers succeed in stopping the falling city, evacuating civilians before Sokovia is destroyed. The team, however, is permanently changed. Thor departs to investigate the larger cosmic threat, and Tony and Steve part ways ideologically. All right. Did the ending land for you?
No. Well, yes and no. I think the ending land for me. Yeah, the very end, I'm okay with. I'm trying to think when they parted, when they left, why is it brain fart in my mind? What exactly happened between Tony and Steve at the very end? What was said?
So
Why do I not remember?
I'm trying to remember it too now on your behalf, just to help you out there. It They actually were getting along well, but it was in one of those funny ways.
Yeah, because I don't
They're
ever
kind
get
of
the
like,
feeling in this that they actually depart in a way of like, yeah, you go your way, I'm gonna go
yeah,
mine.
no, yes,
Yeah,
no, no, no,
I don't feel that part
not
of it.
that. No, it was more of a. I think honestly, the most of an ideological difference here was during that scene
I got you. Yeah.
with the wood chopping.
Mhm.
Other than that, it was more of a brother and brother type thing. Like they were joking about Mjolnir, who was worthy, who was not, is the elevator worthy, all that stuff. Then when he leaves, when Thor leaves, Tony says that man has no care for lawn maintenance or something like that
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of what it means in the ground. And then he says, I think I'm gonna take he as he's walking back to his really cool orange car, by the way.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
Now I remember,
yeah,
yeah.
he says to Steve that I think I'm gonna take a page out of Clint's book and start a farm for Pepper, which
Yeah.
it actually does happen later on. But um, I don't remember what Steve says. That's the part I'm having trouble
Yeah, I
with.
don't think he says anything nasty, though. I think it's all
No, I don't think it's anything
I think he
nasty because
wishes him
the
well,
next
basically.
scene, literally after that, is Steve saying to Natasha, "That's a beautiful wall. You're gonna keep looking at it," and then that's it.
Yeah.
Actually, Natasha says, "I thought you and Tony were still gazing to each other's eyes." So it
Mhm.
makes it sound like it's more of just a friendly departure,
Yeah.
not really at that point an ideological departure. I think that actually happened earlier. But anyways,
So I'm gonna combine the ending didn't work with my biggest issue in this
okay.
at the same time. What didn't work for me at the ending is the actual fight with Ultron himself felt very underwhelming and not climactic. With that said, I like the last little confrontation that Vision has with Ultron where they're talking to each other. That can stay, but I would have liked to seen a more formidable fight with actual Ultron. I think you could have made him strong enough to where there could have been a real good shot of all of them fighting him at once, and he's doing a good job at fighting them off, but is kind of losing because it's all of them at once. Like I would have rather that than just this a whole army fight. Because don't get me wrong, the whole scene of them fighting the army in that circle is a great shot, but it would have been an awesome shot to see him kind of whooping their ass at the same time, and it just be kind of like we need to beat him, we need to beat him, we need to beat him. There's at a certain point, the urgency and the stakes don't feel as important all of a sudden,
Mhm.
even when it comes down to the rock, like the part of the earth falling, which I will say is one of the more creative ways to end the world.
Mhm.
I like this, taking a portion of the world to drop it on it. It's actually kind of cool. I like the idea of that.
I agree.
What they did with it, though, ultimately in the end, though, felt very anticlimactic. And some of it is maybe some of this stuff at the end is about 10 or 15 minutes too long.
Hmm.
We could have cut some scenes. We didn't need the silly jokes with Banner and Natasha when he breaks her out, when they jump up into the woods and all. There's a whole like minute and a half there, 2 minutes of a dumb joke that doesn't. Once again, sorry there, Scarlett, you're just not as funny. It's like now we're even. I don't know what she's even talking about at that point. Like, there's certain things. It's like I know what they're trying to say and what they're trying to do, and I'm not. I don't know. But there's like in the scene that we're seeing right now, which would have been in the previous act of them doing this whole highway scene and all that. There's like 3 or 4 minutes in here that you could cut, and this movie could have been a little shorter and tighter and not feel like it was trying to go different directions. And that's what this ending of this does for me too. Because once again, it's almost like they still struggled on where they wanted to put Thor in a lot of this. Because really, let's be honest with you, Thor could just take Ultron on his own.
Well, I did like that moment where Ultron sees Thor actually whipping a lot more butt than he anticipated, and he says, "Thor, you're bothering me," and he goes and just starts fighting him. I thought, okay, that's pretty cool,
Yeah, I
but I
agree.
didn't see a follow-up of epic fighting
No.
after that, which
Yeah.
could have been cool.
It could have been sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's my problem with this movie. There's a lot of these little things that, yeah, and it just so my biggest issue is it's a little longer than it should have been, and it made it anticlimactic, and then the choices they make in those fight sequences made me feel it's not as urgent all of a sudden. Like, it didn't feel like as urgent like the New York City thing felt in the first one. This felt like something was gonna happen, but we knew it wasn't. When in that one, there was still a question of there's weird things that could still happen here. We don't know what's gonna go on. So this didn't make me feel that way at all. I didn't feel like I was on the edge of my seat. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I think I felt that way the first time too, but I excused it. But this time I definitely did not feel like I was on the edge of my seat for sure.
Mm.
So
Okay. Huh. Alright, so, how I view the ending, if it landed for me or not, is what is is this is kind of a hard question because there's did the ending land for you and what was the climax earned? And part of me almost feels like some of them are one and the same to a degree.
yeah.
Um, so I'd have to in our review form, I want to really differentiate what does this one specifically mean versus the other because for me, I interpreted the ending landing well as setting up for the future of the MCU, meaning that payoffs are gonna happen later on with Infinity War, with Civil War, and things like that. So, yes, it did start that, so I put the ending or landed for me in that regard. Um, for the climax earned, the whole point of the climax is to stop global destruction, and how did you feel when you were watching it? Did they succeed? And even if they didn't succeed, do you feel like the climax that was made and built up was that earned? And to me, it was because and one of the reasons why is because I loved the problem-solving dilemma that they had in this. I loved Tony actually
Yeah.
r I liked him verbally what's the right wording I'm thinking on top of my head? Thinking out loud, that's what I'm thinking of. Him thinking out loud on how to solve this problem, because that's what he does. He solves problems the best that he can. That's why he created Ultron, because he wanted to solve this problem of protecting the world from aliens. Because we get it, the trauma that he's had and everything. But for this, I love the Ultron's plan. It's very simple. You lift up a city when it's high enough, then you force drop it down, and it causes the whole world to like break
Yeah,
apart.
it's pretty creative.
That it's creative and very simple to do, and then introducing vibranium in this manner, showing how multifunctional it can be. I love that. I think that's really cool. I also love all the armies that he's making. But now I'm getting into what I like about it. For the climax part. What helped me for the climax is hearing Tony and Friday, his AI, talk it through on what if I did this? Oh, then this would happen. Oh, what if I did this? Oh, this will happen. If you press this button or if you do this, it's going to engage the thrusters. It looks like global extinction. When they're talking it through and then he figures out how to fix it. And Cap says, I'm asking for a solution, not an escape plan. Cap's not even realizing that there is no escape plan. This is the only solution.
Mhm.
And that's when Black Widow says to him, "Yeah, we're just not gonna get off. This is the best way to die if I have to get a view like
Yeah,
this,"
it's a
type
great
thing.
scene, yeah.
So, yeah, so for me, because of that, the climax was earned because Tony did figure out how to stop the destruction. And whether or not Nick Fury would have showed up to actually save people and be heroes to a degree, even though I agree with Natasha's point, hundreds of people here versus billions down there, there's no math. I get it. I love that dialogue, and that was part of the whole thing for the third act I really did like is that not only are they fighting this epic robot battle all over the place to try to stop Ultron from actually hitting the button to go down and doing all that stuff, but also they're fighting a moral dilemma on what do we actually do? do we let the Earth die because we don't want to kill the people here, or do we kill the people here because we don't want to let the Earth die? Kind of like the pick your poison type thing, the lesser of two evils. It was very coincidental. Nick Fury showed up in the way he said something a little dramatic. Yeah, it was very dramatic, and it worked. Congratulations, sir.
Yeah,
But
I was okay with it.
I was okay with it, though.
Yeah.
It wasn't a downer. If anything, it gave Rhodey a chance to come back
Yeah,
in with the
finally
Avengers.
he's in an event. Yeah, it's like sweet.
Yeah. So,
I like his reaction to Vision too. He's like,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for me, they both succeeded in that, so I put yes for both of those spots.
You changed my mind a little bit. I'll give it a little more love for that, because you're right. There is some good stuff in there. Climax. Well, I didn't think about their interdimension. I got so stuck on not liking the villain that I wish I would have thought more about the character development there, and or at least what they're talking about. And it is like the scariest dilemma for Cap, because Cap doesn't like trading lives. So like it's but like Black Widow says, it's like, even if we don't do it, then everybody dies. So no matter what, you have to do it. Like, there's no question.
If anything, not saying that Nick Fury shouldn't have been there. I'm glad he got there, and I'm glad that they wrote that into the story, and it worked out that way, because of course we're going to need them further on. I would have almost argued that if they had gone that opposite way of them destroying the city with everyone on it, including themselves, that would have been quite an emotional ending.
Oh my God,
for
that'd
the
been
Avengers.
wild, wouldn't it?
That would have been like,
Yeah.
whoa, like taking this
Yeah.
movie to a whole other level type thing.
That'd have been wild. Yeah, that'd have been wild.
But anyways, that's just theorizing there. For me, I did not have too much of a problem with the villain with Ultron in the third act, except for one. There's one part of the Ultron thing I did not like, but the rest of it I was okay with. I liked that he created an army, and they were fighting an army of them, and then he was picking certain Avengers that he wanted to pick a fight with, and he was fighting Thor because he is the strongest. He was fighting all. I liked how he ended from Wanda with that whole thing of, he says, "You're gonna die." I don't like that he cared about her, but I like that. I like that he said, "But you're gonna die," and she said, "I already did." In her accent, I can never do that accent.
She can't either.
No,
I wish it was.
She said this was a completely made up European accent that at times in the MCU it waned. So, anyways, I find it funny that Ultron had a heart, because she's like,
yeah,
you
I don't
know
like
how
that.
this felt? Like this.
It's like he doesn't feel it. He's a robot.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not going to make feelings for that reason, because it would suck.
Yeah. So she is the one who ultimately kills him. The part that I didn't, or at least kills that body of him, whatever.
Right.
The thing I didn't like about Ultron is, well, before I get to that, what I did like too, I'll mention that because it's like one of the last things before I get to what I didn't like about Ultron in this act, is I loved them, and I wrote this down as the best moment for me in Act 3, the Avengers Circle fight. Was really, really cool. I loved seeing that, seeing everyone in their shining moment, doing cool things, keeping them from getting to that and all that. And I loved when Vision and Thor and Iron Man were blasting at Ultron so much with so much power that it started, even his vibranium couldn't take it, which is kind of a continuity error for vibranium, though we find out later in Black Panther. Just saying. Anyways.
Yeah.
But whatever. So I did like that they did that scene, though. And because they kind of mimicked that in Avengers Endgame when the women did it to Thanos. And I loved that through line there. I think that was really cool.
Do you notice in that scene when they're doing that too, and like the blast is real close to his face, that Ultron's face changes a little?
Yep.
And it looks like the cartoon version of him?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of neat.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, that's really cool. That was really cool. But the thing I didn't like about Ultron in this scene is him getting into a jet and just start.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's so dumb, right? Like,
That it is
and he
dumb.
just starts shooting and just.
Yeah, stops the lullaby
Yeah, you
singing,
see? Here I come, you see?
and I agree with you. Him singing that tune while he's doing it, it turned him into childish. The thing that I don't like about this for him, after that whole scene happened, he gets blasted by the 3 of them with that really cool, beam and all that stuff, beams that they all had. You can tell he, like, says something or makes that conscious decision type thing of, "This isn't gonna work," and that's when all of his robot minions are trying to fly away, and that's when
Yep.
Rhodey and Vision decide to take him out and all that stuff. But yet, he makes the decision to get into a random jet, and start just blasting people. You should have gotten away. That's the whole point of what you were trying to make your robots do. That didn't make any sense. You actually would have had a chance to get away compared to your little robot minions there, but you didn't. So I agree with you. Hulk taking him out like that and him making, "Oh, for the love of God," and saying that stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
so underwhelming.
yeah, that part I didn't like. Then how he died, his body, I did agree with. I thought that was kind of cool. Um, and I do like that scene between him and Vision.
Yeah, I like that scene a lot.
There,
I
that
like
was
that.
really good.
I like what they say. It's simple.
Mhm.
It says a lot. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. That was really good. So, um,
My best moment in Act 3 is when
yeah,
Hawkeye's talking to Wanda.
yes,
That's a great little speech he gives her,
hmm
and because it's
yes,
silly, but yet it's still very full of heart. And he's just like he is just a guy with a bow and arrow,
yeah.
and he's like, this stuff is in the city's flying. Like he's just like it's like
None of this makes any sense.
yeah, yeah. But
I'm still here.
I like that really shown,
Yeah,
that gave him a lot of big character he needed.
yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I think that was cool. Um, so yeah, that's I think that's everything that I had to talk about for that last act. Do you want to get the final scores for that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I wrote mine a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I got a 5.
Okay, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think we also did fail to mention though that I think this was part of the last act, the birth of Vision. We didn't even talk about the birth of Vision and uh, his whole thing there. So we'll just mention it real quickly so we could get on to the rest of the um our review. But that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he looks awesome. And
He looks awesome. Well, the whole circumstances of that's when you see Tony and Cap really start physically fighting for the first time, and it's not just an ideological difference. It's a I'm gonna get it my way done no matter what on both sides.
it is the first time they get physical, isn't it?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I forget that.
and
Yeah.
it's one of the 3 coolest scenes ever for Quicksilver in the movie. The first one was the hammer thing. The second one was Hawkeye shooting a bullet up, and then he falls down. That's in that scene. And he's
Yep.
like, didn't see that one coming." And he says the same thing to him at the other time. Then third scene's when he dies. But anyways,
He
I
did not
digress.
see that coming.
Didn't see that coming either. So,
Mm.
but that was just a really cool scene. And then when Thor shows up and he's like juicing him up, and then he breaks out and all that stuff and everything. And
I do like when he gets thrown and he like stops himself at the window.
oh, that was a really cool stop.
Yeah,
A
it's
smooth
right
stop
there,
right there.
smooth, and then how he's just like watching everything. I enjoyed that. I thought it looked really
And then he
good.
changes his color. He's all purple. Then he realizes like he's naked, so he gets on green. Then
Yeah.
he sees Thor's.
He
He
does the-
sees Thor's cap. That's when he makes a
Yeah, the cape. Yeah,
cape. I'm sorry. Yeah, and that's when he makes the cape. I will say, did I write this in here? No. I'm gonna save that for. Uh, okay. Yeah, that was really cool. The
Yeah.
birth of Vision and his whole thing and all that stuff. And I love when Ultron says, "My vision, you really did take everything away from me." When it says that to Tony,
Mhm.
be like, okay, yeah, I kind of did like that dialogue. That was kind of
Yeah. Oh yeah.
anyways. So sometimes he has good dialogue. Sometimes it's a little too cartoony. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me personally, I do forgive a lot of that because I've gone a little softer on Ultron himself. I'm curious on this Vision Quest show when Ultron returns. How are they going to portray him? Is it going to be
Huh.
just like this, corny, funny, or maybe this time he'll be a little more menacing?
I mean, even if he's not, at least if the dialogue's good, the conversations. I don't think he's gonna be. I don't know. we'll talk about that another
Yeah.
time. I don't think he's gonna be a main villain in that. I think it's gonna be more of a conversation thing that's being done, but
And yeah, I also will say I don't like that we're supposed to believe that Ultron is um uh he couldn't escape from the internet.
yeah,
I don't buy that part. I
yeah,
really don't. I know the film wants you to believe that way and they go an extra effort to make sure you feel that way, but
mhm.
there's artificial intelligence the way he is. Maybe in that moment he was burnt out of the internet, but he is too smart to not have a carbon copy of himself somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, I agree with you.
So, I
Yeah.
just don't know where he's been this whole time though, but maybe we'll find out in Vision Quest. Alright. Um,
Maybe he still is just vision. It's a part of his personality
mm,
because he is somewhat downloaded into it.
that's true. Yeah, he's been laying dormant.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe this new vision's like a split personality
Oh, okay. Yeah.
where he's fighting back against Ultron.
It's like shingles. Just gonna show up. Anyways.
Bad diarrhea.
When you least expect it.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyways. Alright. So
Vision can't eat Chinese food anymore.
All right, mid-credit scene. There was no post-credit scene for this guy. So the mid-credit
right.
scene is Thanos dons the Infinity Gauntlet and declares he will retrieve the Infinity Stones himself.
Love it.
Yep. Purpose was to set up the Infinity
Yep.
War.
Lots of hype.
Very important because it gave us a glimpse on what was to come. So
Yeah, and we saw the glove. Everybody knows now, oh, this is coming.
yep. 10 out of 10 for me. It
Yep.
was just
Same.
simple. Yep. And at this point, Thor already explained, and we got a little glimpse of what the gauntlet would look like with the stones on. So now we know they're actually coming.
Right.
So, anyways,
It's good.
deep dives. All right, guys. Our casting and performances. Who would you list as your best performance?
Let me get to my thing here.
That for me, this was a no brainer for the this movie.
So the best performance in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, did I not write it down? I may not write it down, but I'm probably gonna give it to. I definitely want. I think I'm gonna give it to Hawkeye. Why I say that is because I think once you realize it's his we're kind of with his like through his conduit more in this. It's that whole family house thing that did it for me. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Hawkeye. Yeah.
I agree. I gave
Oh, you gave it to Jeremy Renner
yep
too? Okay.
my best performance. I gave to Jeremy Renner because we got to see not only more of the Hawkeye character and what the character's about, but some of the emotional beats worked so well with the dialogue and how he talked to his wife, how he was with his kids, and the whole dialogue between him and Scarlet Witch was really, really well done.
Mhm.
And you kind of can put yourself with him as the proxy in that situation because he's just a
100%.
guy with a bow and arrow. All this dialogue makes sense. His delivery was perfect for it. So he finally got his due for his time in the MCU now.
Yep.
And so I definitely gave that to him for best performance.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Most surprising performance for you.
Surprising performance. I did write this one down, I do believe. Yeah, I actually gave it to Bruce again. I gave it to Mark Ruffalo.
Mm.
I like a lot of the stuff with the Hulk, which I'm gonna give it the performance for him too, because I know he did a lot with mocap. And I also like the after stuff, like when he's listening to the music in the beginning, or when he's got the blanket because he's upset after everything happened, or just and their dialogue in the upstairs there where they're talking about leaving. Yeah, I think that all that sets really well. I was very surprised on how much I really like him as Bruce Banner
Mm.
still. So I gave it to him.
I can see that. I give my most surprising performance to Scarlett Johansson for two reasons. One is very similar to most of her scenes that surprised me in her trying to go for more of the emotional depth and learning about her and her ceremony and all that stuff. I thought was very compelling for that. Um, and also what the actress herself had to go through and being part of this movie still when she easily could have been written out by anyone's standards, finding out that she was pregnant in the midst of filming, is that they could have cut her role shorter or anything, but she dedicated herself even in the midst of doing that. I know there's other things that they did to help facilitate her to stay in that role, but still, that that took a lot for someone in that state to be like that and be there and be as present as she was. So,
Mm,
I'm giving it to her for that reason alone because there are a lot of I feel like that could be a character trope in Hollywood a lot, that if a woman becomes pregnant in the middle of filming, either filming's on pause or the studio won't go the extra mile to make sure that they're there type thing, and they could be cut or slimmed down for the role, and they didn't do that with her, and she stuck with it. That could have been part of her advocacy on her own behalf and saying, "Hey, I'm still Black Widow. I still wanna do this movie," and it paid off for her because
yeah,
there was no complaints about her throughout the whole movie at all.
interesting. All
So,
right, yeah, I get it. All right,
anyways,
cool.
that's my,
That's
2 cents
very
for that
fair.
part.
Yeah.
Alright, weakest performance.
I'm gonna give it to, James Spader as Ultron
Mm,
because he's just a quirky, funny kinda guy, and you know what? The thing is if I didn't know that he was that kinda guy already, because that's the thing, like, he's done a couple TV shows, I've seen him in other movies, and he's that snappy kinda he just in the Ultron voice. He just isn't there's nothing there that's looked like was, like, I don't know, a lot to work with, like, I feel like they really fell short on this character, so I gotta give it to him.
mm. Alright, so I gave my weakest performance to Aaron Taylor Johnson, for Quicksilver,
That's fair.
and I honestly don't think it's too much of a reflection on the actor himself. I
Yep,
think it was the cards that he was dealt,
yep, that's fair.
and, but even then, it just it's hard to come up with a fake accent the way they had to both of those characters had to do it. Hers was a little more believable to me than his.
Mm,
Not just accents in general, but accents as in the believability of the performance being that way. And so, um, I just had to list him as the weaker performance. I think he could have been better with a better script.
mm.
Casting wins or misses for you?
Um, I'm gonna give it to Elizabeth Olsen because she is an awesome Scarlet Witch.
Mhm.
I just wish the character had more purpose to be in this film.
Mhm. Yeah.
You said it perfectly earlier. Um, like look, even look at what we're seeing here. It's awesome. She's great. She knows what she's doing. She's a great actress. I love the way her expressions are.
Mhm.
Even when she was like doing the vision and Tony was seeing what he was seeing, like she was even shocked at what she was seeing, like because she just sees a lot that's going on too. And I just think that she's very good in this role.
Mhm.
And this is the great casting, and it paid. Unfortunately, I think it pays off more in future films, but it is clearly fantastic in this, so
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you there. I put her as well as my casting win too. And I did like James Spader as Ultron personally for myself. He could have been written a little bit better, but I liked the voice that he gave for him when when they tried to make him sound menacing, though rarely they did it in here, but when they did, I could believe it. There was a couple moments in the movie, and it's kinda hard to gauge this because he really is just the voice acting and maybe the motion capturing, but you never see James Spader himself for the acting part, but
yeah, I don't
things
think
like
he's
that.
motion captioning, and I think that's why it feels like Transformers to me,
Hmm,
because I think it's purely a CGI thing.
hmm,
I don't think he's motion capturing, to be honest with I might be wrong, but I don't he feels Transformers to me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I did like his casting for it, so
Well,
for myself at least.
yeah, they couldn't have cast someone better. I just wish they gave him something to chomp
Yeah.
on.
Alright, and then for missed opportunities and wasted potential?
That's my missed opportunity. It's the missed opportunity in this is you could have kept it where it was designed from Tony, but we needed to see a different side of Tony that we don't see all the time already.
Mhm.
And I think that's the problem I have with it. So to me, that's a missed opportunity.
For me, I would actually agree with you to a degree for the Ultron part. I've like I've said, I've gotten a little softer on Ultron since in my retrospective version of him, but there is still that part of me that wants to see a little more menacing. He's a robot, darn it. We see Terminator. We know how vicious they could be. Why don't we get that for the Avengers type thing? So I do wish we had that for him for Ultron. But also, I would also add for the missed opportunity or wasted potential is both Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in this movie. And that give us a little more reason why they're there in a better way. If you have to introduce them here to continue them onward, give them a little bit more depth or a little bit more of a reason why we should care enough about them being there.
Couldn't agree more.
So those 3 characters in particular, I would even put the Maximoff twins above Ultron for that reason. But uh, even then, yeah, I wish Ultron was a little more menacing and a little less jokey. But that's that. All right, direction and production. For me, I'm just most of this for me is about the same. Everything's pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't have too much to complain about. So
I think the CGI can be sketchy at times. The action's good. The cinematography's good. The music is MCU has learned their lesson, so they've made sure the music stays at least consistently fun, which is good. I dig that. The directing style, though, I do feel is combative. I feel like some of the problem with this film is your director. Personally. So
no, I do agree with that. I'm yeah. Anyways, what is your hot take for?
So my hot take, I saved portion of it. This is something that I don't know. This might not ring true, but this is something that I feel I noticed this time, especially in a retrospective. Something that really doesn't work that this movie needed, and that I realized is my least favorite version when it comes to Iron Man, is this movie. And that's the absence of Pepper. Without her, I didn't think it was a big deal, but the absence of her in this is very noticeable. I think, I'm not saying Tony's not good alone, because he is, and Civil War shows that, right? But I do think there is something to be said about the pairing of those characters, that even in other films where there's just a moment of them together, where it's there, whether it's talking or not. I mean, hell, in Spider-Man, she's just at the end for like
I was just thinking that in
30 seconds.
Like,
you know
she's
what I
still
mean?
there, but
she's literally in
just there,
30
yeah.
seconds of Spider-Man, right? But like, there's something about that completes seeing Tony in a movie. And I know this isn't a big deal, and I'm not gonna die on this hill, but I will say, if he's gonna fly a nuke into space and not know what's gonna happen, and one of the last things at the end is like, well, let's try calling Pepper. You don't think he'd do that here too? When he's we might not make it out of this. Like, the lack of that feeling, of that emotional stake for that character alone, was actually very like apparent to me this time watching it. Like, wow. Like, earlier they just kind of dismissed Pepper, like, oh yeah, she's running a company. And it's like, but then at no point in this movie, especially on the run, hiding, I mean, gosh, it could be part of the plot point. Why couldn't Pepper have been captured with Black Widow? You don't think Ultron would have actually thought, I freaking hate Tony. Why not go after Pepper? There's not even a mention of, is she safe? We're just on the run. There's not even a call like, oh, hey, hon, or are you in the safe place? You know, because we don't want him to find you. It's like, there is literally a moment in this movie where they just kind of want you to just think that Pepper's just out doing something somewhere. And she's got nothing to do with any of it. And you know what? I gotta be honest with you. I'm a little butthurt about it. I think it's very much a sore spot that I don't like it. I'm like, oh no, this might be that one little thing that makes me kind of go, Yeah, this movie really dropped the ball on that because she's involved. I mean, like I said, I know it sounds nitpicky, but folks, I really want you to think about all your Tony Stark moments, all your Tony Stark movies, all the things that go on, emotional stuff, the big things. You even said this would be a hell of an emotional way for the Avengers to die like this.
Mhm.
But would would it be if he doesn't call her and say goodbye to her? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
and we know why it doesn't cross our mind because they make it like she doesn't exist in this movie. In fact, when they bring up her name, it's at a party, we're laughing, we're smiling, we completely just forget about it. It's like he's not once at their house. You can't have that one scene. Even when Nick Fury come in with the tractor, he could have been like, he's like, "How's Pepper?" He goes, "Don't worry, we got her in a safe place." That's all we needed. Like that's one of those things that you'd be surprised how far something like that goes, but it doesn't even cross Tony's mind again. The other time he brings her up is the farm thing at the end with with Steve. The lack of Pepper is very apparent in this. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't like Stark without her around. I don't think I this might be a bigger hot take on that character in general, but I think she kind of completes who he is,
Mm.
which I think is why the Russos put her in so much in the other ones.
Mhm.
And he's doing the thing. I mean, hell, he's about to die in Endgame, and he leaves a message. It's always her. He's not gonna call her when he's at the bottom of this thing, about ready to blow it up.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that my hot take is that rubbed me the wrong way, big time, and I realized, oh man, this movie's lacking one character, and it's Pepper. Believe it or not, I think she's essential when it comes down to the Tony Stark experience.
Mhm.
I think there's one exception, but I think she's still even in that movie. Is she not in Civil War?
No.
But see, in
But
Civil War, she's not in danger either.
and
There's no
also
reason for her to be.
when
You know what I'm saying? Trying to
I
say.
think a common through line between this movie and Civil War with her not being there is you see a side of Tony that you wouldn't want to see with Pepper. You know what I mean?
I don't
Like
get that from Civil War though.
in Civil War, when he is on the stage at MIT showing off Barf, and it says on the teleprompter, Pepper Potts, and they say, I'm sorry. You could tell it hits a sore spot, like they're on a hiatus at the moment type thing. And I think that he's a little more self-destructive without her.
Yeah, I don't get that though in Civil War. But I don't want to get too far
Yeah.
into it because we haven't watched it in a while.
Yeah, we'll do that when we get to our retrospective.
I definitely don't feel in this that it's not, even if they're on a hiatus, if you're about to maybe die,
Mhm.
like that's his one, that's the one for him. Like I feel the absence. Does she need to be there? I guess not. It's hard to argue whether she should or not, but boy, it really felt like, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, how cool would it have been if they showed up and she was at the farm? If, if, uh,
Yeah.
if,
Hawkeye's wife.
yeah, or if Nick Fury brought
Nick
her
Fury.
with
Yep.
him,
Yep.
and then she's left there sitting on the porch with Hawkeye's wife when they take off. I mean, to me, that'd have been like, okay, cool, you
Yeah, I
know.
can see that.
But does not. I mean, he's not. Doesn't even mention like, hey, God, if I was Ultron and I want to draw Tony out, who do you think I'm gonna take?
Exactly. No, that's something that I would've,
It's a big plot hole to me, personally.
I mean, not that I would want to do too much in this movie, but that is something that I'm surprised they didn't do that was part of the comics already when Ultron wanted to have a wife. In the comics, he took Janet Van Dyne, Hank's wife, to try to make Jocasta the and we've talked about this character before on the podcast. That's would have been Ultron's wife type thing. Um, and use her essence, basically her brainwaves to make her. I'm surprised that they didn't go that route with this type of thing. Like he lost vision And so his next best thing is to create a partner for him
Yeah.
because like Tony can't live without Pepper. Ultron couldn't live without someone
Well,
else.
and even if you didn't go that far with I think that's a cool concept. Probably would make a better movie. Um, even if you didn't go that far with it, it'd have been neat if he had taken Natasha like he did,
Mhm.
and then when she's in the cage there, she turned and there's Pepper.
Yeah.
So then when she does get a hold of Hawkeye, Hawkeye can turn into Tony and be like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah.
And then that makes Tony be like, "Oh, shit."
Raise the personal stakes for him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because why not, right? Like, she's such a big deal, you know? And like I said, I might be eating my words. Maybe when we watch Civil War,
Mhm.
I'll realize I feel the same way there I have about the war.
Yeah.
But I don't think I will, only because the stakes are different there.
Yeah.
You know, that she's not in danger in Civil War because it's not that movie, right?
Yeah.
This is that movie. This is if I'm Ultron, I'm taking his wife, soon to be,
Mhm.
and or that, you know,
Yeah, I agree.
oh yeah.
That is that I
And
see
what
that.
great conversation you could have with her.
Mhm.
Like, why do you like that guy? You know what I mean?
Yep. That
And
would have
like
been
that'd
cool,
have been
honestly.
interesting, right? Like I think you cut out some things, make this fight at the end 15 minutes shorter, throw Pepper in there somehow like that. I think this movie would have felt a little better. You could have had that menacing part in him, just of him talk. He doesn't need to be doing the violent things to be menacing. He can be scary, and that's what he lacks in this. But if you put Pepper in his direct aim of sight, that could be scary. That could make us feel okay. Yeah, because then that really make Tony be like, "Oh my god, I really messed up."
Mm.
You know, which actually would feed into why he does what he does in Civil War more so than he does in this. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's my hot take, I guess. Is I do think that, believe it or not, Pepper may have been that secret sauce to make me like this movie more. So, like hot takes. More Gwyneth Paltrow. Who thought I ever say that?
Yeah. That's a good hot take there. I honestly don't know if I could really give a good hot take on this movie. And this has been going back and forth from my initial walkthrough of this movie. I liked it so much. I wrote a whole bunch of stuff down that I'm watching it, and then doing the retrospective review and everything. And
As
it's
I read what you wrote, though, you sure you don't want to tell him what you? You don't have to. I'm surprised that you felt like this at that time. You feel differently now.
so if I had to compare, like this is the second Avengers movie. If I had to compare the first Avengers movie to this Avengers movie, the the stakes were definitely there for the world ending type thing. The villain was definitely lacking in this one compared to the first one. And um the thing that I would say that I like most about this movie, this isn't really a hot take, but this is going along with this, is that this is one of the few times, well, should I say few times? Maybe not really. This is the Avengers movie of them just being the Avengers together without having an internal conflict like that. You see the ideological differences with them, but as far as just enjoying this as the Avengers are together from beginning to end type thing, this is one of the few movies that you have that.
Yeah, they're a team from start to finish in this.
Yeah, and
Even
that
with the bumps.
yeah, even the personality bumps, which you're bound to get that anyways with how each one of them is different. I enjoyed this movie for being a sequel that it is. I
Would you stand by the statement you say though, or no?
no, I wouldn't. Um,
It's slightly changed on that.
I am slightly changed on that because the missed opportunities of the and the wars just with the potential for some of these characters that could have been there differently. I think throughout this whole retrospective, when we get to the parts we don't like and we say what we would have done differently inside of those that would have fixed it, like what you said about Pepper, like what I said about um Ultron's some of his character traits, what we've talked about for the Maximoffs.
Yeah, you nailed it on the Max Moss for
Yeah,
sure.
that if that stuff would have if those were corrected the way that we thought of, that statement would have been true.
Do you want to tell them what the statement is just for so
Okay.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
okay.
this I will.
They just might they're going, "What are they talking about?" You know, it's like,
I initially said Avengers: Age of Ultron is better than the first Avengers film.
yeah,
And part of my reason for it was I did get a little softer watching it through watching Ultron, understanding where he's coming from now in his creation, and therefore it made sense for me the rest of his acting throughout the rest of the movie. Mm, Do I still want him to be a little more menacing? Yes, of course. But I was able to forgive that part because Tony is not a menacing guy. So even in his darkest times, I don't find him to be that menacing. It's just, um, and those are the things that are exacerbated in Ultron, which makes him bad type thing. So if anything, Ultron's a little bit worse than what Tony at his bad day would have been, in my opinion.
yeah.
So,
And there's a time in all defense to you, there's a time I would have agreed with that statement,
yeah,
what you said for your hot take, but now it's changed.
hmm
Yeah,
yeah. Um, I don't there some of the naysayers out there say that this movie is overcrowded. I don't think it's overcrowded. I just think that some of the characters in the movie are underutilized to their fullest
yeah.
potential, or at least to a reasonable amount that they should have been.
Yeah, I agree. It's not the
It's
overcrowding,
yeah, no.
it's what they're doing.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
problem. Yep.
Yeah. I didn't find it too funny other than the Ultron parts. Some of them could have been a little too funny, but then again, like I said, and I'm gonna stay consistent with that, it makes sense for how they've made Ultron in the MCU. So I'm okay with it because of that. Um, but I didn't find it too funny for the other parts too. So when people say this movie was too funny than it's supposed to be, I don't think so. I think it had the right amount of humor for what they were making.
Mm.
It's just that, or what was it that they were making?
So I don't think it was funny enough,
Mm,
and I feel like it was too light.
interesting.
I think
Yeah,
it's
because most of the comments online I've looked up, I'm like, what are people having a problem with this movie? And I'm like, do I and this is after I've watched it through, so I already had an opinion on it. And I'm like, they say it's too funny. I'm like, I don't think it's too funny. I'll tell you when we get to too funny, and it might be in a movie that everyone really, really likes. So stay
oh,
tuned
that's
on that.
interesting. Yeah.
Phase 3, everyone. Right around the corner.
Oh,
Anyways. We'll see in the retrospective if I still feel that same way, but yeah, anyways, so that's it. That's well, I'll just leave it at
yeah, no,
that.
good. Yeah.
Quick fire questionnaire. The best scene of the movie for you?
Best scene in the movie for me is definitely the hammer hanging out scene.
Yep, I actually wrote
I
that
could
too.
watch an
Yep.
hour of them just talking shit. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just want it. I'm like, man, what a cool special that could be.
Least best scene.
The least best scene to me, oh my God, there's a few. I had to really pick a hard, like really hardcore. Um, why don't you go first? Give me a second to think about it.
Okay. Well, I would say if I had to say least best scene in regards to like the villain thing, I don't like uh Ultron in the jet in the third act. I really that's the one of the main times of Ultron I do not like is that part. Um Other least best scene I really don't have too many on the top of my head that I could think of. For like the whole scene in general. I mostly like the scene is just yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. We didn't really talk about it, which is why I'm gonna pick this too. I really don't care for the whole scene where he meets Claw,
Okay.
and yeah, I just don't. None of that works for me this time around. Even their interaction with the Avengers there doesn't really work. You know, because it just comes off very. It felt really campy, like over the top campy. You know, that's where that lightness comes in that I wish wasn't there. So yeah, that whole scene.
Okay. Best villain moment for you?
Definitely our introduction to him.
Mhm. Yep,
Yeah.
I would there's 2 for me in particular. The introduction, yes, and the second one is when he meets Helen Cho. in Korea, and she walks in,
That's
and
pretty
all
good.
you see is the red eyes, and he says scream, and your whole staff dies. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's pretty killer. Like,
that's the more of what I want to see on it.
yeah,
Yeah, okay, I'm with you too. I like that. I forgot about that. That is a good.
that
It's a great shot.
if
Yeah.
you had just released that like as a promotional thing online or something for us to see,
Oh, we'd
you
be
would have
hyped. Yeah.
we would have been like, oh, this guy is seriously bad. Like he's good and bad, that type thing, you know? Anyways, most punchable face.
Yeah, Claw.
Yep, Claw. Sorry, Andy
I
Serkis.
love you, Andy Serkis, but this is just not your character. Like,
He is great in Black Panther when we
yeah,
get there.
and,
But
and he's not bad in this, but man, I just want to knock you out.
that's the one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the one.
The only other one that I will say, there's two equally punchable faces in this, and it's Quicksilver.
Yeah,
Every line, you just want to. It's his hair.
that's hair.
It's like it's his hair, and it's always the position he ends up in when he's done running too.
That's
He runs, and he's always in this one.
yeah.
It's like just punch his face.
Didn't see that
just
coming.
give him a-
Like even
you
when
see
he
his back
died,
end, you know.
even
Even
when
when he dies, he's like,
he had a couple seconds right there where he said, "Didn't see that one coming." He has expression on his face,
yeah.
and he just falls over like that. Be like,
Hawkeye should just.
do you
reach out.
have no other?
While he's dying, Hawkeye should just. I don't like. Yeah, I feel real bad that he got screwed, man, out of that.
All right, one prop you take home.
So when he puts the jet in autopilot, there's a sticker that says,
Jarvis is my co-pilot.
yes, I want it.
I was gonna write that down, but I had a feeling you would probably write that down. So
Yeah.
I wrote the Friday chip.
Oh, that's good too.
That's
I like that too.
It just says Friday, and it says handwriting and all that. And looks like it actually reminds me of the old PlayStation memory cards.
Yes.
It looks just like that. Like that'd be so cool.
Also, a cool prop that would look good on an end stand. There is actually you can actually buy the statue of the credits here.
Oh,
There's a
okay.
statue of the fight.
Yeah.
You can actually buy that. It's a big diary. It's like $4,000 they get. But I know it's not that much. But yeah, you can actually purchase that. And I think that would look good on the stage. So.
That would look kind of cool. Yeah, I can see that. All right.
But yeah, the sticker, I saw a sticker. And I'm like, there it is. It's so easy. Jarvis is my co-pilot.
Yeah. Most underrated moment for you.
Most underrated. What did I put?
I have. Yeah.
Well, you go ahead. Well, I kind of collect my stuff. I made a note, and I'm trying.
Yeah.
I did one of those things where it's like a one-word note.
Yep.
I'm like, shit. What's that mean?
I know it's on mine. I wrote the word also, and then I never finished my sentence on one of these. So I'm gonna find that out in a couple seconds.
Yeah.
But I wrote there's kind of two underrated moments, almost three to be honest. But I'm gonna save my third one for another part. Steve and Tony's discussion of Hawkeye's fawn setting up it sets a civil war for the ideological battle right there. Those key differences. I also did like for underrated moments, Vision and Ultron's last conversation together.
Oh,
because it's reminding that humanity, though flawed, is always worth saving.
Yeah.
And I think that is really cool to put into perspective.
Yeah, I put naive down, and that's why, because my underrated moment is that last conversation.
Yeah.
He says, you're so naive. Yeah. And yeah. You're dangerously naive or something like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
You're insufferably naive.
Yeah, something crazy.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
I think you just nailed it. Yeah.
The most overrated moment for you.
The most overrated moment for me.
This could be my hot take, to be honest. But
Oh yeah. I think it's what did I put? Oh yeah. I don't like Vision holding the hammer.
that's mine.
Both times.
Exactly.
I don't like it. Is
Yes.
it yours?
I literally wrote Vision lifting Mew Mew.
Mew Mew. You did put me. You did put me.
Can't spell Mjolnir.
Yeah, he Vision lifting me on. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
It never leaded to anything, and in retrospect, it felt out of place, like a shock moment for only that and nothing else.
I know what they're trying to do. They're trying. Well, how can we get them to believe that Vision's good? Well, if he lifts the hammer, then he's worthy. Get the hell out of here with this
No.
worthy crap. Marvel, you don't know what to do with the hammer and what makes people worthy. I don't care who you are, but you don't know what the hell you're doing when it comes down to that hammer. Because the first time you want to think about it being worthy, I called you out on your bullshit. The second time you thought about it, I'm still calling you out on your bullshit. And now here we are. We got he's not even a person. What do you mean? He's got a soul to judge. He's got a stone, a soul stone, whatever. It's not a soul stone, it's a mind stone. So no. No, Vision's not worthy.
Could it be that he could lift it up because he's not human? He's not a living creature?
No.
Sort of like when Thor hangs the hammer on the coat rack. It's the same thing. It's an inanimate.
I like to think the hammer chooses to stay there for Thor. I like that the hammer has its own kind of mind in its own way. I enjoy that concept of it because the hammer's deciding, in a way, if you're worthy or not.
See, the ham. Okay.
Which is why I enjoyed the funniness in Thor: Love and Thunder about the hammer.
See,
and the
in
axe,
Thor: Love and
which we'll
Thunder,
have an argument about.
Yeah,
probably.
we definitely will, because I did not like that about the axe, and the hammer does not have feelings like that. And
I think it does. I think it does.
It's so weird. Anyways,
it is weird, but I like that it's that weird. I know we'll get there when
we'll
get there.
Get there. Yes. Okay.
But this here, I don't like it because it just undertones it all.
I completely agree.
Because I 100% believe Steve could lift it and he didn't to not hurt Thor's feelings. And yet we're just going to let Vision. Don't get me wrong. I love Paul Bentley as Vision. I think, if anything, I almost put that as one of the biggest wins of this is him and Wanda. You know, and it actually is a great setup for the love story when he comes in and he saves her.
Yeah.
And he's like, awesome. Yeah. I'm great. I'm glad.
No.
Vision is great. Paul Bentley is awesome as him.
Yes.
But no, sir, you cannot have it. I'm sorry.
I agree. I wrote the same thing down. I love that.
Yes.
All right. Funniest moment for you.
I laughed out loud when Tony says, "Don't take from my pile." And the guy in the helicarrier when he tries to sound all cool to Nick Fury, and he says something about them coming me, and he's like tries to re-say it, and they're just kind of looking at him. Well, I laughed out loud there too.
I like in the beginning of the movie when the Baron Strucker was saying, can we beat him? Do we have the ammo? And the guy kept saying the same thing. They're the Avengers. They're the Avengers. Yeah. Duh. Yeah, I got that. But I also liked one of my absolute favorite parts, other than, this isn't going to be it, but I'm going to say Thor and Tony hyping their women up.
Yeah.
That's great for Thor, great for Tony and Thor together, because you don't see too many scenes of those two together doing stuff. So it's funny on there saying, she's going to get some sort of Nobel Peace Prize or something, or you know, get whatever. And then he's like, she's running a Fortune 500 company with my son. They just going back and forth on saying who has the better woman. I think it's just really.
And Thor just in the end is just like, Jane's so much better. Like, he just says it. He outright says it.
He's just like, Jane's so much better. Yeah. That's just so good.
Yeah.
All right. Most emotional moment for you.
I'm gonna give it to Bruce and Nat in the house when they're talking about her past. Only because every other time the movie fails to get there. And I will tell you this movie though does not have it's not an outstanding emotional moment, but that's the most emotional one I'm going to give it to.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would give that to this too. I wrote Black Widow's ceremony revelation and noteworthy. It's not at all like the comics, by the way, but whatever. For the MCU narrative, it does bring a levity of emotional weight for the character that we finally get to see.
Yeah.
For Black Widow in particular, so I do appreciate that. I also do like the scene. I don't know if you would call it an emotional moment, but I do agree with you. There's not many emotional moments in this movie at all. But if you would consider Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch's talk on Sokovia kind of emotional, of saying what it means to be an Avenger, and if you walk out that door, you are one.
I did debate that.
That is somewhat emotional to a degree, and then she ultimately makes that decision. So
yeah, I debated that, but I think the
Black Widow,
because that was like a lot to learn, and it was I'm so for these two.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's too bad we don't ever get more.
Initially, I was put off by their whole thing, and when I first watched
Yeah,
this
a
long
lot
time
of people
ago.
were. Yeah,
Yeah, and I didn't like that she was sterilized. There's a couple things I'm like, "What the heck are they doing with these people?"
but it makes
But
sense.
it makes sense now in the
Yeah,
retrospect. Yeah. Alright, final scores, guys. So, on a scale of 1 to 2, Ike, what's the story for
I'm
you?
gonna give it a 1.
I gave it a 2. Okay. Characters,
1.5.
I gave it a 1. Action and visuals.
Then I'll give it a 2 because, like I said, there's some sketchy stuff, but man, that Hulk fight
Mhm.
looks so good.
Yep.
You know,
Yep, so I'm gonna give it a 2 as well. Emotion and stakes.
I'm gonna give that a 1.
Hmm. I'm gonna stick with a 2 out of 2. Rewatchability and MCU impact.
See, this is a hard one to answer because I'm gonna have to give it a 2. No, no, I'm gonna split the difference. Its impact on the MCU is big, but I also think it's only because they made that happen, for one.
Right.
And the other thing is the rewatchability though. There's only scenes, but then I'm fast forwarding a lot. So I'm gonna give it a 1.
In that perspective, I could agree with you there. I gave it a 2 because I could rewatch it and rewatch it type thing, but when you put it that way, I can see just watching scenes and getting through
Yeah.
1 or 2 things, so, I'll be a little more generous to give it 1.5.
Mm.
But, yeah, I get it. I downgraded it from a 2, so I wouldn't get thought to that far. Alright, so what is your final score, you would say?
So I strongly feel that they messed this up. My hot takes and all the stuff I feel about it. I was gonna give this a 6,
Mm,
but I gotta be honest with you, that scene with Pepper really bugged me. Yeah, I take it personal. I take it more personal than being true to like Ultron's form and all that. So this is gonna get a 5.5.
ooh, okay.
This movie was not what I hoped it was, guys. I wish I felt about this movie the way I felt a week ago when we were getting into it. And then once I'm watching it, I realized, oh no, we're really doing a deep dive and being as critical as possible. And I did. And I gotta tell you, because these are the faults I see with it. And I don't think either of us, it's not about talking each other into different things. And I want you to stand whatever you give it, I want you to stand by it because I'm gonna stand by mine. But it's once again, full disclosure, all these are good movies.
Yes.
Like we're talking about the best of the superhero movies ever made, and we're being nitpicky, right? Like we're picking these apart, y'all. But that's what makes this fun because on a scale of 1 to 10, we're still on the larger scale of 1 to 10. We're still in the 8s. You know what I mean? Like if you really want to be meta about it, we're being picky about movies that we never thought we'd ever see.
Yeah.
That are fan. I never would have thought this would ever be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're just being picky as we can because we can. It's, that's how it works.
So for me, for how I wanted to give this score, to be honest, is I wanted to look at what the first Avengers movie score was and make sure that with what I don't like about this movie, it didn't overcome or underdo that score. So was consistent. With that said, I'm giving it a 7 because I gave that score an 8. But if there's a couple of things that I said could have been changed between the three villains, so to speak, it would have made this on par, I would say, for
Got
that. So I'm giving it a 7. So, guys, the official Goodell Multiverse score is a 6.5 out of
Wow.
10.
Wow. Who'd have thought?
Yeah. I think this is our second lowest, honestly.
Well, it won't be that long. There's
I might be wrong because I think Incredible Hulk is lower than this, but I don't remember if Iron Man 3 is lower than this.
I think it is.
Maybe. I'll have to double check.
That'll be what's fun. We should definitely keep record of where these are at.
Yeah.
Our
Because
separate ones and the average.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we're writing them down, because then it'd be neat to see which one's tied and where we fell on them, because I'm not looking back at what I did. I'm trying to stick to the same, intensity of each one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's lower than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Me too.
And I'm sad about that.
Yeah.
Although I'm excited that we watched it. I'm glad we got to it. But I definitely am a little surprised that.
And this is definitely not the worst Marvel movie, of course.
Oh,
so,
no.
Not even within the top, not even within the bottom 5. Worst MCU projects.
Yeah, no, that's the amazing thing about this thing is wait till we start getting to the 2s. There's a couple coming, guys.
Oh, yes.
You think this is low for this? Wait till you hear about a couple that are coming. You're going to be very surprised. I'm going to be surprised how many I'm going to have 8 and above. That they're all just going to be in the same, and we have to just kind of like go through and pick which one goes above the next one.
Yeah.
But we'll have to go from 8.5 to 8.5.2 or 8.53, 8.54. You know what I mean? Like, but that'll be later when we make the final list. We have to make sure whatever ties, one has to beat the other, so.
All right, guys. So we'll just use this as our final closing then. What is your 1-sentence review?
Hey, still a great movie. Go watch it. If you haven't seen it, where the hell you been? And it is essential for future Marvel movies.
I would say if you approach this movie with an open mind and not influenced by any of the naysayers you read online, I believe you will definitely enjoy and at least appreciate this movie.
Yep. Couldn't say better. Perfect.
All right. We're going to skip the pitch your own version because we kind of did throughout this whole thing anyway.
Yeah. Sometimes unless we have one that really got a great idea.
Yeah.
We kind of already do it anyways.
All right. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Goodell Multiverse podcast. If you're just listening to us, we have a YouTube version. If you're just watching us, we have an audio version. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. Ike, what are we doing next?
All right, guys. So next week, we're once again, we don't have a branch point breakdown. So we're going to be trying our game segment out. So stay tuned to that. We're going to figure that out. Sam and I are going to have a good conversation tomorrow about specifically what we got to do for it. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time.
Sounds like fun.
And then next week, hey, Ant-Man 1 is our retrospective.
Mm-hmm.
This will be a fun one. I remember enjoying this movie. I like Paul Rudd. I think this one's going to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be a nice departure from these little big themes. And let's get something smaller and kind of more contained and fun.
Yeah.
And just so you know, guys, sorry for not having a Dark Dimensions episode out this last week. It's been a crazy week. I've had a lot of runs in my job. And it's just felt like one of those weeks. It's just a shorter week for some reason. The holidays were just recent. We just had a lot going on. And then obviously on top of doing that, we had an Avengers movie and we had the Spider Noir. There was just my time at home got consumed. And so I'm going to do a special episode coming up, guys. Stay tuned for that. You'll see it coming on. There'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies on it. So I'm going to do a normal review, and then I'm going to do the Halloween movies, and I'm also going to do a creature feature. So it might be a little bit of a longer one, not much longer than usual. I'll probably keep it about the same, but it'll be more content. I'll get right into some fun stuff. We'll have a good time. So they are coming back, and we're going to do a special edition. A couple of them coming up soon. So we'll have a good time with that too. So
yeah. Plus, I'll also add to that, guys, that we are almost done preparing to film for the first special retrospective review of the X-Men films.
That's right.
We actually, I helped create kind of a cool logo for it today, getting everything all set up, and I'm really excited for some of that. So within the next week or two, we'll be filming it, and it'll be released to you by the end of June. So stay tuned for that, guys.
X-Men 1.
X-Men 1.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So
we'll have a special night just for that.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Please comment. Please share with a friend. Please share with a family member. Please share with an enemy. We need everybody's help. All right, guys. And so until next time, see you at the movies.